Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought another fantastic group of independent comic book creators. So please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. And without further ado, I'm going to bring in the pinch hitter. All right, because some people just can't be bothered to show up.
What's up, everybody? Jorge Medina here. Pinch hitting today. Apparently, somebody decided not to show up again. For that person who didn't show up, listen, man, I'm a Jets fan as well, and I'm here, dog. I'm here. You gotta just, you gotta lick your wounds and just keep moving, brother. You gotta keep moving. Anyway, thank you for having me, JD. I am back, and I'm happy to be back here asking questions and shooting the ish.
All right, cool. Let's bring in another pinch hitter.
Hey, man. Good to see you guys. My name is Timothy Fling. I'm a writer from York, Pennsylvania. I'm ready to answer some questions, and I'll even ask some questions if the situation entails.
Trust me, it will entail eventually.
Oh, hey, that's me. I'm Tony James, writer of this book called Star Noir. It's on Kickstarter, and I don't feel any way about Jay. So,
listen, Jay's a good guy. He's just a pain in the ass.
Okay.
Tom, hello,
yes,
Mr. Cattiers.
There's 19 seconds left. There's 19 seconds left.
That's our base score.
As we all know from a few years ago, you only need 13 seconds to score a touchdown. Yeah, Tom Hutchison, Big Dog Inc., repping the Chargers, but also I'm going to take credit for the Bears win today. So I picked it when no one else did. So.
And he's sweating it hard.
I am, because it's 19 seconds.
He has money on it.
Yeah.
Yep. As a matter of fact, Tom said before the show that he'll back everybody's campaign if he wins.
Too bad none of you have campaigns running.
What's up, Jeff? How you doing? Introduce
Good,
yourself.
man. Good, man. Yeah, the Jets suck. Go Giants, even though they suck too. What are you going to do? Sorry, Jay.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Yeah. You got to do what I got to do. But yeah, it sucks Jay's not here because Jay backed me last time. I love Jay, so it's hard to talk shit about him.
But Jeff, introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Jeff. I write Magic Powder. I write another comic called The Elf with No Name. And I'm also working on a character called The Public Defender right now. But my current Kickstarter is for Magic Powder issue number 6, and we're on the end of our first arc. I'm very excited about that because it's the first time I've finished anything in my entire life. So it'll be pretty cool when we get the funding for that. That's pretty much it. I'm waiting for that Yankee game tomorrow, as you can see by my stupid hat and shirt. So let's go.
All right, let's go. So I got this question I put up for the show title. It's my trick question, but I'm going to ask you real quick, and we're going to go around it real fast, and then I'm going to ask the real question. So what is your favorite horror comic? Tony, let's start with you. What is your favorite horror comic?
From Hell, Alan Moore.
Oh, good pick.
Good book.
Yeah. Just great. Like, get a character story about the serial killer. Get in the mind of his madness. It's all creepily drawn. Yeah, amazing.
Yep, Eddie Campbell. Nice. All right, Tom, what's your favorite horror comic?
That's a good question. I don't know necessarily that I have a favorite like horror comic. I mean, I'm sure the one that's in my collection that I'm trying to put the run together kind of falls into that. It's the old school 70s and 80s Ghost Rider, the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. It's monster more than it's horror, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I do collect a lot of the old horror books, like oh my God, like Weird Wonder Tales and House of Secrets and House of Mystery, Unexpected. I collect a lot of that stuff. It isn't always great reads. That stuff's really old storytelling. It's not always great reads, but I love the covers. The covers are usually like just really epic monster ghost type of storytelling, which is fantastic. They have great logos, and we did some homages to those logos. We did Ursa Minor a few years ago. We took some of the old sort of fonts and styles and reimagined them for our horror world of Ursa Minor. So I love the old stuff in that regard. And then the one that's, again, it's not really horror, but it's like monsters. I don't know if you guys have ever read this before, but this is what I just picked up. It's called Dark Ark. And basically the gist of it is it's Noah's Ark, right? What's that?
Cullen Bunn, right?
Cullen Bunn, yeah. So the gist of it is we all know Noah's Ark, right? So he picks up all the animals on his ark and goes off. This ark has, this ark has all the unnatural animals. It's got the vampires and the monsters and the things that, were also on the world, and they got picked up and put on the dark ark. And so there's 2 arcs floating around. I've been through about the first 4 issues, and it's really good. I've never read it before, and I got this at Baltimore. Tim, cool. Did you go raid the trade paperback boxes while you were there? They had great deals while they were there.
I should have, man. I was strictly there and to meet you and to meet some other folks.
So yeah, so there's that, and then just kind of odds and ends of stuff. A lot of the stuff that people really dig on nowadays is probably like something's killing the children and things like that. But I'm a little more old school.
Fair enough. Jeff, what are your thoughts? What's your favorite horror comic?
My favorite comic series, period, is The Walking Dead. It really changed the way I got back into comics and stuff during high school. And then, I just love everything about it. Like, I love that it turned into this big thing, and now Robert Kirkman's a big thing and all that kind of stuff. But I just love an ongoing story you can sink your teeth into. And I'm not really huge into superheroes and stuff like that. So, being a big fan of zombie movies when that came out, and the whole idea of going with the Romero look with the black and white, I just loved everything about it. It kind of sucks they switched, artists after 6 issues, stuff like that. Who it could have been, that kind of thing. But I love The Walking Dead, and I also love 30 Days a Night. Big vampire fan. And that movie actually turned out better than most comic adaptations have ever come out. So, I was pretty happy seeing that in the theaters as a kid. I guess I was more like, in my 20s at that point. But those are probably my 2 favorites. Because it's funny, when I seen that was going to be the question, I'm like, do I even have a favorite horror comics? I'm like, oh shit, yeah, my favorite thing ever. So, because I don't really think of like Walking Dead as horror, really. Because once I'm in it, I'm just it's kind of like Deadwood, where you're just watching a town kind of evolve. Like, yeah, zombies come and kill some people sometimes, but that's not really why you're there. But at first, that's what gets you in. So I get it. But yeah, Walking Dead, definitely.
Cool. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Mine's pretty easy. I'm going to go with Swamp Thing. I'll be the second Alan Moore pick of the night. I love the From Hell pick, by the way. That was also on my list. I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. I didn't know if we were going to be showing them, but by the way, what you see there is the Serbian edition. Notice that cool logo.
Yeah, I was wondering what it was when you showed it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of what they call a Walking Dead collector. But yeah, I love the writing of Alan Moore. If I wouldn't have said Swamp Thing, I probably would have backed it up with Sandman, which is sort of more horror adjacent. Maybe you'd call that supernatural, I guess, more so. But Tom made a good point, and I'm going to quick chime in on it, which is that many horror comics are essentially, by the way, that's a great pick too, Lori. I was getting ready to say that. That's something a little bit more modern. But one of the things about horror comics that we find in the modern market is that they are monster books where monsters are heroes, and they're not particularly scary books, right? Which in my view kind of disqualifies them from being horror books. Like when you talk about something like Walking Dead, man, that book's scary, right? Mm-hmm. And you might say, well, it's meant to be. It's a horror book, man. And if you might say, well, it's not really, sometimes it's the people that are scarier than the zombies. Yeah, well, that might be the case, but it's still horror, right? It's still a scary book. Yeah.
People are still murdering the shit out of each other. Like,
and if you pick up 10 books off the shelf that are advertised as horror books, you might have 3 books that are even slightly scary. That's one man's opinion, of course. But the picks that we got tonight are some really good ones. And quick shout out to Lori. I loved Witches. That is a great example of a horror comic and just genuinely disturbing. That's what it's 10 years ago. And I still think about that person trapped in the tree or whatever. So, my 2 cents worth is Alan Moore, the kingpin of the horror writers.
All right, cool. George, what are your thoughts?
Many years ago, I was in Bethesda at the SPX at that show, and I picked up an indie graphic novel called The Chair. It's by Alterna Comics, and it's about a guy who's innocently accused of murder or whatever. He's on death row, and he's like in this crazy prison where he witnesses like a bunch of like just deaths and all kinds of shit, and he's questioning his sanity now. So so that's my pick. It's called The Chair. It's a graphic novel.
All right, cool. For me is something called The Hammer by Kelly Jones. So it's a very strange book. Think of Hellboy with an alien who attaches itself to some guy's cranium and then hunts demons.
Nice.
So it's a very strange book, but it's very weird and it's funny, but it is also horrifying because the one thing that Kelly does is he has a very good balance between the humor and the horror, you know. And then he also has this character that's an alien who acts alien. Like, it's just weird. Like, he's just like, you know, he doesn't really understand the functions of the way humans function. And he's just like, well, okay, but this should be like this. He says, yeah, I chopped off your leg, but you're still alive, you know. So it's that sort of thing. It's a very strange book. I wish he would do more. Yeah, other than that, there was a short story done by Bruce Jones and Bernie Wrightson. Now I'm drawing a blank. It was something that appeared in like the old creepy horror magazines, but I'm drawing a blank.
Nice.
Yeah, but that was an awesome story too. But anyway, I want to get down to the real question of the show, all right? Because like I told you guys before the show started, it's too long to put on the title. So here's the real question of the show. Do you want to be taken seriously as a creator, or do you just want to be financially successful? Is it possible to do both? And what are you doing to achieve your goals? Right? So I gave you guys a little bit of time to mull that over. I normally just pick somebody to go, but I'm going to ask, who wants to go first?
That question's kind of a mouthful. I think we're all digesting it. You know, I'll go first, just in the sense of maybe give you guys some time to think if you want.
Good.
Okay. You know, it's a tough thing when we talk about being financially successful. And I'm going to throw it out there. If financial success was what we were all after, we'd all be selling cars, right? We'd all be selling real estate. Nobody goes into comics because they heard it as the most financially successful field. So, now again, this is one man's opinion. Feel free to chime in and disagree with me. I love a little dissent in these conversations. But the truth is, if we're looking to be taken seriously on something, probably the last thing on the list is comic book writer. It's just barely above designing footwear for animals, right? It isn't necessarily a field that lends itself to being taken seriously. Now, that said, there's lots of ways to be financially successful in the comic book industry. And they tend to be things like crowdfunded projects, selling collectible items, you know, developing your own series, and to a lesser extent, developing YouTube channels and monetizing them. Mm-hmm. But I guess for me to answer the question directly, look, I'm all about financial success. Let's be honest, we all need it, right? Mm-hmm. But the truth is that there's probably, without even breaking a sweat, we could probably pick 10 things which would have a higher financial success rate than comics. And even when it comes to writing, you know, there's other things that are way more financially attractive than comics. Now, a quick show of hands. Are we all writers in this group? We are, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So we're all well aware of the costs of developing pages, and we're all self-publishers too.
Yep.
Yeah. So this isn't going to come as a shocker. You know, we're taking on the chin probably 90% of the cost of making these projects. So the real thing is, how can we keep the engine chugging long enough to be profitable? And I think that's something I'd like to hear the answers on a couple of them, particularly Tom, because the truth is that, you know, it is a little bit like a train, right? You get it to a certain speed and it does start to generate income. The trick is, how do you keep the train on the tracks and how do you keep it consistent? Because it's difficult to have multiple projects going at once and difficult to have, you know, what I call multiple income streams. You pretty much got to have 2 or 3 or 4 books going. So I guess to answer the question directly, I would say that for me, it's probably not too much about financial success, and it's not even too much about being taken seriously. It's probably a great, you like that, huh? But the truth is that, and I'm going to bet that we're going to hear some similar answers, is that we write comics because we have some kind of a deep love of the craft. We want to emulate a little bit of what we've seen the giants before us doing. And this is one man's opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. I think disagreement makes for an interesting podcast. But the truth is, if it's money we're after, we're probably in the wrong field.
All right, that's fair.
Okay, now I'm going to disagree with everything he just said.
Go ahead, Tom. Listen, you notice some of this is pointed at you. You notice?
Yeah. No, I know. It's fine. No, I don't disagree with Timothy. I think it is interesting that particularly the writers of comics are, I won't say looked down upon, but like he said, it almost feels like we're a dime a dozen Whereas for whatever reason, if you've written a book, a novel, a book, like somehow you're an author instead of a writer, even though it's the same thing. Incidentally, I have written a book, people, so I am an author and a writer. Okay, so
Well, how many?
And a writer.
keep
How
that
many-
in. Just keep that in
How
mind.
many have you written, Tom?
I've written one
If to do more than one.
book
If
so
to do
far.
at least 3, because that's how many I did. How many I've read.
But yeah, but then again, here's where it comes back to the question is, do you want to be respected or do you just want the money? The respect of who, first of all, peers or your fans or whatever, and even if you get it from either one of those pools of people, for everyone that is your fan or is your friend, there's an equal who is on the other side going, fuck that guy. For whatever reason, you will always have haters, whether you know it or not. You will always have haters, regardless of what it is you're doing. And so for me, I think that Tim's not wrong in that we came into comics because we liked comics, because we came from somewhere. We read comics as kids, whatever. Hey, let's make comics down the line. But the reality is that the money is more important than the fame. Now, fame can bring you more money, but without money, you can't do what you're doing. That's the bottom line. And so for me, I feel like I'm always looking for not respect within any context, but I'm looking for connection with somebody. And I'm looking for connection with people that connect with the things that I do. And in return, that should create some sort of a cash flow. And the cash flow keeps it going. The more you go, the more you release. That's how you get sort of the respect or understanding of who you are over a period of time. Anyone could put out a couple of books, but if you're suddenly now, hey, I've done 3 issues, I've done 5 issues, I've done 10 issues, I've got 3 graphic novels, I've got 6 different titles. Suddenly it will just start to happen. The quote unquote respect or the awareness of who you are and what you do. The longer you do it, the more consistently you do it, that will come. But you really have to, in my opinion, start with, how do I sell this thing? Because if you can't sell it, you're not going to be around long enough to garner the, hey, look what this guy has done in my case, next year will be 15 years. And every time I tell people 15 years, they're like, Jesus Christ, I've been doing it this long. I'm like, well, let me tell you this ridiculous story. So I think from a beginner's standpoint, you really need to focus on, how am I selling whatever this is? Who wants it? How do I get it in front of their face? And how do I make issue 2, 3, 4, 5? Because once you get to 2, 3, 4, 5, that's where you start to gain the respect, awareness, whatever you want to call it, of your peers, of your fans, of the general populace. You'll still have haters. There's still going to be people who be like, he's only done it for 15 years. Call me when he's doing it for 20, and that's just real. That's just what it is. So accept it, exist within yourself, and understand, I have to make a book. I have to sell it. How do I do that? And the rest will kind of take care of itself.
That's fair.
Good answer. I got to say, I agree with that.
Tony, what are your thoughts? You look like you were chomping at the bit there for a minute.
Oh, no. I was basically, like, both Tim and Tom basically said everything to a certain extent. I mean, peer respect, if you can get it, it's great. It's actually ultimately more important to have reader respect. And being successful. Yeah, we don't come into this trying to be millionaires. Just, enough to order some pizza every now and again if we can get it.
Fair enough. I've been there. All right, Jeff, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I don't really give a shit about anybody else in comics. So it's like, who cares what they think? Like Tony said, it's all about the readers. Like, what do they think? Like, when someone says Magic Powder rules in the chat, like, yeah, thank you, man. That's what I care about. As far as the money goes, it's like Tom says, though, there's no money. What are you doing here? Like, you're not going to be able to make another issue unless you have a sweet job or like a benefactor of some kind who's paying for everything, which would be amazing. But I don't know anybody like that. So yeah, it's just, trying to keep people happy, trying to make enough money for the next issue, trying to keep your artist happy or find a new artist, that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, to me, it's just about like being able to tell this damn story that's stuck in my head. That's really what it's about, like getting it out there And then when people do relate to it, like really like getting it finished would be nice, just to see, you know, the reaction to it and stuff like that. Because that's really like, as a kid growing up, or even as an adult, when you see something cool or when you read something dope or anything like that, like when you get to the end, like there's just a feeling that you don't get in things that don't get finished. Like look at, if you're reading like Game of Thrones, for instance, you're still waiting for that feeling. And like, I don't know, I want to get to the end of my story. So that's the thing with like doing indie comics. It takes a long time if you're telling a long story. So who knows when Magic Powder will ever get to the end. So yeah, I'm at least at the end of the first arc. So that's something. But yeah, so to me, it's about getting, I guess, money more than respect, just so I can finish the comics.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. George, what are you thinking?
I mean, I think everybody pretty much has said, and I know Tim wanted somebody to disagree, but I think we're all in agreement. I think we're all in agreement. I think I will add though, the respect thing, right? I think if you write a great story and if your product is just great, you're gonna force them to respect you. Like they have no choice but to respect great product, right? Like they can hate you, they can not like you, they can think you're an asshole, whatever they want to think. But if that book is good, they have no choice but to say, God damn, that book is freaking good. Though. You know what I mean? And some people may not say it to you. Some people may not admit it, but you know that they know it. And I think that if it's that good, the money will come. You know what I mean? Like I think money, but to everybody's point, we need it. We do need the money. So can you get both? If you're that damn good, yes. You know what I mean? I think you can.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, even really quickly, if you're that damn good, I mean, look at Brian Pulido, right? Brian Pulido has been doing this forever. He's the monster of crowdfunding. He is the top guy in indie creation. But even he has his haters. Absolutely. Even he has his detractors. Even he has people that tear him down for whatever reasons that they have. So you gotta. I mean, watch his social media, right? Does he go out and chase people down that are attacking him, or does he respond? No, he's just like, fuck you. I made $400,000 in a month. Like, go away. Right. You know, that's your mindset that you have to be. Look, I sold my book. Go away.
Right. Don't even go away. There's no such thing as
that. Don't go away.
Yeah. You know, it's Tom has a great point in that, you know, the hater thing, having a hater, or hopefully more, is one of the steps toward success. It's not a step backwards. Haters don't attack people on the way down.
That's true.
I mean, I've seen some of that, especially as a sports fan. I wouldn't agree with that. But there's definitely,
you got me there. I'm not a
sports
sports fan, but I can tell you, when I wasn't making books, I never had haters, and I got them now.
I've seen plenty of people get kicked in the head on the way down.
Yeah, definitely. But on the way up, though, that's where they start coming around. Is right though. They're just waiting for you to fall down, and then they'll still be there.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely agree with the hater thing. But at the same time, like, you know, there's definitely people I've come across that, you know, were kind of like in the social media sphere, like fucking with, you know, like maybe like you're crowdfunding or you see them fuck with other people's, and you do want them to go away, man. Like they fuck with your vibes a little bit and shit. It's like, and the whole crowdfunding campaign thing's about getting good vibes. So it's like when you have some idiot in there just trying to be like, this guy sucks or whatever, it's like, who the fuck is this asshole? So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't need haters. I don't need any of that shit. You want drama, you guys can have it, man. I'm good.
Yeah. The reason I asked the question is because, you know, we have people throughout crowdfunding who we know are not ready for prime time, right? We have people who come in to comics in general who do serious work and who never achieve any level of real fame, right? We recently lost Bernie Moreau, who was considered a very serious creator, been in the industry for 30, 40 years, worked with Matt Wagner, worked with another number of famous people. Basically, you know, took his own life, right? Because he was living in poverty and couldn't make it anymore. But this was considered a serious creator. You understand? I mean, Wally Wood, right? So it's one of those things you can be taken seriously and still not have success. You can have the respect of your peers. You can have the respect of everybody in the room and still be broke as fuck for whatever reasons, right? So that's why I asked the question, is this like, you know, are you know, yes, it's important for us to make money, especially as indie creators, because we need the revenue to keep the train moving, you know. I've always
and to keep the lights on and pay the heat and, like they said, buy some pizza every now and then.
I mean, you know, some of us who have lakes, you know, don't have these issues, but you know, some of us gotta like get up in the morning and go to work for that stuff. But But yeah, that's why I asked the question. It's just like, when we think about it, right? Like, why, is it better to be taken seriously, right? Because, those types of creators, and he's not the only one. I mean, there's tons of creators who we've lost over the years who we know of who were taken seriously, but, they had not, mediocre careers, right? And then there are other people who are killing it on crowdfunding who are producing garbage.
I mean, that's subjective, obviously, but
well, yeah, that is very subjective, but I'm right.
There you go.
Yeah, actually, by the way, can you expand on that a little bit, JD? What do you mean by producing garbage?
Yeah,
is there a list?
There is a list. I have
names.
I mark them down every time I open up Kickstarter. I write them down. This motherfucker. So check them off, and then I invite them on the. No, I'm only joking. I don't invite those people on.
Hey, maybe it's maybe you'd see something new if you did invite them, but I don't know. I think a big thing, as someone who just quit their job yesterday, like this world just sucks, man. So like whether or not you're gonna create comics or not, I mean those people weren't gonna be happy anyway. So at least they got something out of them before they could. Like even look at like Elliott Smith or any great creator that killed himself. Like at least they got something out into the world before they killed themselves. So it's like that's the positive side of that, because like suicide sucks and it is what it is, man. And the world sucks, and I understand why people don't want to be here. So it is what it is. But overall, like you said, money makes a lot of problems go away and stuff like that. But a lot of people with money kill themselves. So that doesn't really answer every question. My brother the other day told me he's going to therapy and he's got all the money in the world. So it's like, man, it is what it is. It's a fucking dark ass world out here. And that's why we're telling crazy stories. So I don't know.
I agree 110%. Look, Michael makes a good point. You can either be an Andy Warhol or you can be a Van Gogh, right?
So what do you think, JD? Can you do both? Like
I definitely do think it is possible to do both. Okay. I think there's plenty of people who are doing both. I think there are people in this room who are making quality work and succeeding. I mean, I think Tony's makes great work. And Tony, I've never backed any of your books. And you know why? No. There's a reason.
The way you said it was hilarious.
No, there's a reason. It's because I'm trade waiting his ass. I'm kind of hoping he puts out a trade for the next book.
But his comics are like trade sized.
Yeah, no, but I like reading like thick.
You want like a compendium?
He's a binger.
Yeah,
he's a binger. He likes that binge.
You want the whole thing all at once.
I want the whole thing at one.
Listen, he backed my Critter toy, but he won't even show it to anybody. He's put it in the closet. He's like, "Yeah, I backed you, shithead. Leave me alone now."
It's in the vaults.
It's in the vault, Yeah, but no, man. But I'm looking forward to reading. But I think Tony's one of the guys. Tom is definitely Tim. George is doing a great job. All you guys, right? All of you are making it happen. You understand? And all of you guys. So yeah, it is very, very possible to do it. You understand? So I don't say it to be depressing. I'm just saying it because it's something that's going on. And it's something that we have to be, I think, conscious of.
So here's my question off that. Like, do you think it's gonna get any easier or better for comic creators in the future, or do you think with all this AI bullshit and everything else, like it's just gonna keep getting worse, and social media being like basically muted and all these things, like you think it's gonna get harder for us, or do you think eventually something will come around and make it easier? Like, what do you think about that? Like, what's the future look like? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't see it getting any easier, right? I just don't. I've been doing it for 40 years, and I mean, it's like I've never seen it get easier, but that's not to say that it can't be done. Right.
Well,
so,
I mean, the future keeps opening doors. I mean, 15 years ago, we didn't have social media at all.
We didn't have Kickstarter.
We didn't have Kickstarter. We didn't have these things. So even though none of it is perfect, and it goes through the roller coaster of fluctuations of use and so on, I think the future will always have doors that you can walk through, and you can choose to walk through or not through. AI is one of the doors that you can choose to walk through if you want to. But it's going to be one of those things where that's going to appeal to a certain group of people. But that's where we are right now. Anything that I make right now appeals to a certain group of people. So in the long run, AI is probably just going to wash over everything. And those that don't use it will actually have potentially a benefit to themselves by actually being able to say nothing here is AI made. Everything is by hand, person drew this, wrote this, whatever. That actually becomes a selling point in a world of artificial intelligence. So I think if people keep that in mind and start to kind of focused themselves in that regard. That could be something that comes out of all of this in the next handful of years.
Wait, I'm ready to
even like I remember.
It's-
Damn, we all wanted to go on.
I know.
You guys, yeah, you guys.
No, I was gonna say it's interesting because we talk about does it get easier? It gets easier to produce the comics, and what I mean by that is there's more technology available to produce them, right? So like when we start, and you know this, JD, in '92 when you started, and even 03 when I started, the print on demand stuff was new when I started. Before you would have to go and print thousands of copies of books, so that got easier because you can print out 10, 15, 25. You didn't have to spend $3,000-$4,000 to get a print run that's going to sit in your basement. Now you can print out 25 comics. So it got easier in that way. What gets tougher is because it's easier, or it's, you can get more books. There are more books now, and there's more competition, and there's more people selling the books. And now that gets harder to get your voice out there because there's so many people doing the same thing you're doing now.
So many voices.
Right. There's so many voices. You go to a convention and there's tons of people who have, well, now you have more, other things at conventions rather than comics, but you know what I mean? The point is there are more people doing what you're doing. So that's what makes it harder to stand out, Yeah,
it's the give and take. Like you said, some of it gets easier, some of it gets harder. Like you said, we got Kickstarter now, but everybody's on Kickstarter. Like even that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I looked the other day, it was 350 projects.
Yeah, it spiked again right at the end of September going into October, just like it did last year. And last year, though, was an anomaly. That's not normal for Kickstarter. Normally, you see that 300 over the spring, summer, and then it falls off October, November, December, January, and then it comes back. This year, it did the polar opposite. All summer long, it was around the average, 250 throughout the entire spring, summer. And then October got here again, and it blew up. So we're seeing a shift right now in the usage of Kickstarter, at least. I don't know about the rest of the platforms, but Kickstarter at least is now seeing a shift in usage and when these bubbles are happening, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, I don't know how long because I've only started keeping track of the last. What's the highest count you guys have ever seen on Kickstarter? Like 350 is the highest I've ever seen.
Highest I've ever seen is 380-ish. And that was a couple of years ago. And it's been around there before. It's been 350, 60, 70, in the high times. But it's like the high time bubble is now moving. And the high time bubble is now, like, for whatever reason, like September, October, November. And I don't know if that's just people are now trying it because they assumed, hey, there's nobody down here. Let's do this. And all of a sudden there's a pop. But now it's 2 years in a row that it's happened. So now it's not an anomaly. Now it's potentially a trend. So we have to kind of watch it and see what happens.
I'll tell you like
too. Oh, my bad. Go ahead. No, I was gonna say I think a big thing is, a lot of people love horror now. That's a big thing. Horror comics are a big thing, and I think October has that spooky season thing going on. So people just want to be a part of that, have something going during that. So I wasn't surprised at all when I launched on October 1st, and so did a lot of other people. And it's like that's fine, man. Like I think that's kind of the fun of it, like being a part of the October rush, I guess, or whatever. So that's cool.
Yep. All right, cool, gentlemen. I'm gonna start this a little early. So we're gonna start off to one of these big successes. There you go. Tony, do you want me to play this video?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Hello again, readers. Last time in Los Angeles, our ace detective and his eager rookie set off to find their elusive killer. They confirmed that the mysterious shapeshifter lurks among Alan's fellow officers in Central Station. Alan had a close encounter with one of these beings, a real cookie with peepers to die for. He learns the Central detectives are being hunted and digs deeper to find out who killed Perkins. Meanwhile, Perkins' partner, Ray Foster, found himself in the hunted by the very same killer. In our next chapter, the stakes are even higher, as our killer stacks more bodies than an OnlyFans model. Our two detectives peel back the layers to this onion, meeting kooky characters like Orson Welles. A collision course is imminent, with more twists and turns than a 10-cent carnival ride. Book 3 is penned by Mr. Tony James, a writer of sorts, a lover of old noir and science fiction. Returning with vigor are his 3 able-bodied artists, aces in their own field, much like our detective. And beat me Daddy 8 to the bar. Take a gander at those rewards. The exclusives are the real cat's meow. Be sure to peruse the add-ons as well. Commemorate your purchase with these additional items. Don't be a fuddy-duddy. Back Star Noir today. It's the only way to defeat the communists.
That thing is always awesome.
Cool. I love the voice acting. That's all you, Tony?
Yeah, that's all me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I did it. I did it the first time. Everybody loved it, so I did it the second time, and now I feel like I have to do it 3 more times for the rest of the series. So
yeah, you're like the character at the beginning of Rome who does like the reading of the news or whatever. Like that's your name.
yeah. So yeah, this is L.A. Noire meets the X-Files, a 6-part murder mystery. This is the 3rd book in the series. Things have been going great. People are loving the series. Each book is about 45 to 50 pages a book. Yeah, and it's just been this wild ride doing this 1940s murder mystery with this human detective who teams up with this gray alien to stop a shapeshifter who's killing LAPD officers in Central Station. You kind of got the horror elements in there when they kind of meet other aliens. You also got some buddy cop elements in there as well. And this third book is really just kind of ratcheting up what we've been setting up for the first 2 books. So yeah, every book we do, we try to really top ourselves.
Very nice, very nice. Now, this is the second one you released this year, right?
Well, the other one was like a second chance for the second book. And then now this is the 3rd one, and then I'll do another second chance for this 3rd book in February, probably.
Gotcha.
So
And then what is it? Later on next year, you're looking at the 4th issue?
Yeah. So it seemed like it's been like each book is in the fall, October-ish, and then a second chance campaign is like in the following February.
Very nice.
So yeah, if you're a new reader, there are digital and physical catch-up tiers. Physical one is called The Sixth Extinction. I forget what the digital one is called. It's right next to it though. Yeah, and then also you can always read the first 9 pages of the first book for free. So there's a link there that takes you to a quick PDF, so you can check out the story for yourself.
Cool. Listen, man, always impressed by the look of the book. Looks incredible.
Thank you.
You always do a great job. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're at 189 backers. You got 17 days ago. You're at 11K. You're killing it.
Okay. Thank you.
Listen, like I said, it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Awesome. Yeah. All right, cool. All right. I pulled up Tony's early because he has to leave a little bit early.
It's cool.
All right. Okay. Jeff, you want me to pull this up? You want me to play this video?
I guess so. Hello and welcome to the Magic Powder 1 through 6 Kickstarter page. If you're new to Magic Powder, there's a link below to download Magic Powder number 1 digitally for free. So just check that out. The rewards are pretty simple for this campaign, self-explanatory even. Magic Powder number 6 digital, Magic Powder number 6 physical, which also comes with a digital copy, Magic Powder 6 variant cover, digital. Yeah, you can just cut it. I'm going to talk all about this. This is like pointless. Yeah. Magic Powder number 6 digitally, which is the black and white and the colored version.
Is this all it is?
Yeah, it's just me talking. Like, yeah, it's just me explaining because I get a lot of like messages when I don't do videos about like, oh, I didn't know which one to back and shit. So I'm like, all right, well now I'll explain it to people.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't do like a cool video like everybody else because like I just don't have the editing skills and I don't want to pay nobody. So
gotcha. All right, well, just talk to us about the book because the book is awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Magic Powder. It's basically my fantasy crime series. I kind of wanted to do something that was like an answer to like a dark fantasy after Game of Thrones bombed and shit like that. So I was like, what do I got? And I was watching a show called Gomorrah at the time, and I was really inspired by a game called Shadowrun. Like I grew up with that, and I was, it was a lot of like orcs and dwarves and humans and stuff like that. So Magic Powder is basically no humans, all fantasy creatures in a really late fantasy world. So everything's already happened, all that great, hero stuff, all the medieval stuff, all the taking over the world stuff. And now it's just what's left. And so, basically Thez is the city it takes place in. And it's basically, it used to be like the ancient Rome of this world. And now it's just, basically Naples, in Italy now, where it's like a bunch of project buildings on top of what used to be ancient Rome. So that's what kind of inspired me with it. And so with the 6th issue, it's our season finale. It's our first arc finale. I'm really excited about it. There's not a lot of preview pages because everything's a damn spoiler after the 3rd page. And I don't want, to spoil everybody. So the thing is, you can get the first issue at the very top of the page and you can read the whole first issue, check it out, see if it's for you. And if it is for you, it's all there. We have 6 issues for $20 if you're going digital. and physical, I believe it's 40 plus shipping. And it's like, I just want to get as many people to read it as possible. Usually we get around 330, 350 backers. Right now we're at like 225. I think we'll still get over 300. I just don't think we're going to get our max this time. And who knows why? It could be a million different reasons. I don't think we're producing issues as fast as we were. So I think that kind of hurt a little bit. And then I also think, I was working all this. I wasn't promoting as much, stuff like that. So just little things like that. But man, I'm excited just to get this 6th issue done. I'm excited to show everybody like the plan. Because the thing is, like, this is really just the prologue, these 6 issues. It's like the first arc, but it just sets up what I really want to do. So at the end of this issue, you'll see kind of where it's going and stuff like that. And I just want to get to the next, arc. So I'm excited about that. That'll be 4 issues. And same artist, Danielle's planning to do the art for me. So I want to keep Danielle. I want to keep the art intact, stuff like that. If he does change his mind, though, I guess we'll switch it up. We'll see how it goes. But right now, all the issues are available. There's a variant cover for this issue done by Alex Moore, who, he's a badass. He does so many different things. I don't even know where he comes from. He hit me up and was just like, can I do a variant cover? And I was like, yeah. And his variant cover is so good that, like, right now, the first arc, we did 6 covers from Samuel Awunzi out of Nigeria. And so I wanted to have the full set for that arc. And so the next set will be 4 issues. And I'm going to have Alex Moore be the lead cover guy for that one, because I just love like how his exterior cover really captures what the interior looks like. And with Sam, I wanted to capture the mood more so. So when I hit him up, I was like, I wanted kind of like that Punisher War Journal like feeling of the covers. So like he gave me that, like it was just dark and kind of like gritty and stuff. So like now we have that, and now we have the tone set and everything. So we're gonna go with Alex for the next set. But I'll probably have like Sam doing a variant, because he's done a Alpha No Name, another series I've done and stuff like that. He's a great cover artist. I don't know if any of you guys have worked with him or not. But yeah, so I'm just excited to really get it going. It's just like another thing I think that's hurting promotion is the lack of preview pages, because usually I'll do like, oh, we get 50 backers, I'll put up another page, but this time I just can't do it.
No, listen, It still looks great. I mean, listen, just from the pages that you see, you can tell it's a great book.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's like, on the first couple of pages, there's a few backers that are, have cameos, because I have a reward tiers for that. So you'll see like, when you go to like the first page, like if you scroll down a little bit more, even though on the cover, there's a couple backers too, actually. But yeah, so right here, the guy in the middle panel, that orc, he's a guy named Anthony LaFauci, and he backs all my comics. And so he's a cameo as an orc right there that runs, he like stops our character Breaker. And then the character that owns the pawn shop is also one of our backers named Claire. And they're just like another person that supports the crap out of our books, and they back that tiers to be a back cameo. So I wanted to give them like a character that's kind of like inspired by them. They wanted to be an elf, so they're an elf. And then the coffee reference is a reference to how much they love coffee and all that kind of crap. So yeah, it's just fun like having backers in there. It's kind of like when I'm reading and I see someone I know, it's just kind of a funny feeling and stuff like that. I started doing it issue 3 because my buddy Jason just he was supporting it so well. I just put him in. I didn't even have the rewards yet, but I just wanted to put him in there to surprise him. And then it became a thing where I was like, man, I just want to do it as many people as possible. So it's been going pretty well, having like backers become part of the story.
All right, cool.
I still really like the colors of this book. I read the first 3 issues. So
hell yeah, thanks. And Danielle does all the colors. He does all the inks, does all the pencils, everything. He does even the letters. Like he never was like comfortable doing the letters, and then he was like, all right, we'll try it. And then a couple of people said our letters were too close together before we released the first issue, so we changed the kerneling and all that, and I haven't heard a complaint since. So I'm glad that his lettering's been well received, and I like it, so I haven't had any problems with it. But yeah, the colors, I've had a few people hit me up, like the guy who does Drumsticks of Doom John and stuff like that, being like, hey, is Danielle down to like color other books and stuff? So always feel free to hit him up. He's always working on other things. He had something called Undergrowth came out this year, and he did that with a guy named Ricky Lima, and it's like 300-page graphic novel. They got it published with a publisher. I forget which one, Top Row or Top something. I don't know. But yeah, so they got their stuff going right now. So yeah, Danielle's a great artist, and I'm really lucky to have gotten to work with him for my first 6 issues of a series of a comic. So yeah, man, I'm just in awe when he sends me a page every time, because it's like, so I've worked with other artists now, and a lot of them, you'll hear you communicate in different ways, and some people will have more questions and stuff. Like Danielle just like gets the page and just boom, puts it on the page, and it's exactly how I kind of picture it. It's just amazing, like how little communication he needs to really pull it off. Yeah, John without the H, but yeah, exactly. That's his name. He's great, and like I just don't ever know how to pronounce people's last names, so I don't say their last names a lot of times. But yeah,
gotcha.
He's so hot. Yeah. How do you say that? Westhoff? Like, is that how you would say his name? I don't know if you guys can see the chat right now, but yeah.
Yeah, I can see him. He's pretty cool for a drummer.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry,
he's
John.
good to put him in the back and he's chill. But yeah, no, John's great. He supports everybody's comics, I feel like. I know he definitely supports Magic Powder, but yeah, he's a great creator, great part of the community, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that guy. And I think it's part-time comics, his little deal. So great guy.
All right, cool. Listen, you got 4 days to go, 4,700. You're gonna be a little tight, but I think you're gonna make it just under that wire.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. It is what it is, man. I make it every time. Yeah, It's like whatever.
Right, cool.
Yeah, it's like because I know they say the less 48 hours and stuff like that, and it's like right now we have 290 followers, and I've never had less backers than followers at the end of a campaign. So we'll probably get to 300. So we'll be fine. But yeah, in case anyone does like, oh, I'm worried, help me. Yeah, come get it. Let's go.
You can do the prediction thing too on your dashboard. You ever do that? You can take your followers. You don't have to do it on the air, but you can take your followers. You know where the conversion shows on your dashboard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can take your follower. And by the way, this isn't an exact science, but it'll get you within like 10. If you take your number of followers times your conversion, that's how many more customers you got to go into the shoot.
Okay, perfect. Just from that number.
Yeah, and it's pretty accurate. If I'm wrong, you can come back later and be like, "Man, your buddy Tim lied to me." But like for me, it's been like within 2 or 3 each campaign.
Yeah, I believe that because that's kind of how I do it too. I just kind of like add them up and then do the fucking division and whatever. But yeah, anyway, I think we'll be fine. If not, whatever, we'll run it back. I don't know. I'm not really too worried about it. It's the same goal we've had 3 other times. We've gotten, I think the most we ever got was like 6,700. We got 6,600. We never gotten over 7,000. So whatever. If we do get over 7,000, there'll be a cool stretch goal, all that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, at this point, I did stop doing a lot of frills and stuff like that. Like I used to give away extra stuff, free stuff, but maybe that's hurting a little bit of the campaign. I also raised some of the prices, like shipping went up, stuff like that. I think that might have hurt a little bit too. Even maybe the digital copy went up $1. And it's like, those little things, it affects certain people's, options. That $1 is a game changer with these people, bro. I get complaints in the messages sometimes like, I can't believe you're charging $5 for digital copy. It's like, I can't believe that you can't believe that, but it is what it is, man. People don't respect indie creators like they should, and that's how it goes. We're out here just trying to make something happen.
I think that's a deal, man. For the quality of that book, I think $5 for a digital is a steal. To me, it looks really good. Yeah,
thanks, Tim. I appreciate it, man.
Jeff, just out of curiosity, how many arcs do you think it's going to be?
I have 5 arcs planned out right now, like all the way to the end. But then I also have like plans for the 6th arc. Like I know how I want the 6th arc kind of to end. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I got it.
It's one of those things where at the rate we're going now, it's like 1 or 2 issues a year. I'll probably just do it till I die at this point.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. We got another guy who's going to be working all the way to that point too. Tom.
What?
You want me to play this video?
Yeah. Of course. I made it, didn't I? It's the same video we use every time. There may be new people here. You may never see another video from me again. Except for that. But there it
Where'd
is.
you get the music fed? Did you make it?
Yeah, I do. No, are you kidding me? No, I don't play anything. I just did that on a site called CapCut. And, they have all kinds of free effects and music and, all kinds of crap. It takes a minute to learn what the hell you're doing, which is why I don't do those videos very often. But if once you do it, it's essentially a template. And if you want to, you can just reuse it and just like drop new art in. So it becomes easier as you go along. But most people know that I put no credence in videos on these things because the play rate is monumentally minuscule.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if you can see by mine, I don't either. But yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it is what it is.
Tom, walk us through. What do we got?
So this is issue 24 of the Critter ongoing series. We did a mini series prior to this. So this actually, when we get to 25 in January, that'll wrap up volume 6, and that'll be essentially issue 31 of the whole series. So it's old school superhero stuff. It's spandex costumes, it's utility belts, it's secret identities. It is guest stars, other people that have their own superhero books. Their characters appear in this book from time to time as well. So it's just all the fun that, for me, superhero comics kind of used to be before we got to the Frank Miller era, where everything had to be dark, gritty, real, blah, blah, blah. It's a throwback to like the 70s and pre-dark ages of the anti-hero and all that kind of stuff. So if you like, if you like that throwback with a little bit of science fiction thrown into it, there's time travel, there's parallel dimensions, there's, all that kind of stuff that, I always thought that's what a comic book is supposed to be. And so that's what we've done here with Critter. Basically, it's about a superhero cat girl who gets recruited by a team out on the West Coast. When she moves out to California, she finds out that being a real superhero was a lot harder than it was back home. So instead of pulling kittens out of trees and tractors out of mud, now she's fighting real bad guys. And, she has to find her place in this huge world that we've created for her. So it's a lot like Peter Parker, right? When he got bit by the spider, he didn't just become Spider-Man. He had to figure out how to become Spider-Man. How to protect his secret identity, how to protect his loved ones, what are his powers, how does he fit in with this larger universe. So that's what we've got. And there's a ton of variant covers, obviously, by some amazing people. We do, for the readers out there, we have trade paperbacks of this book. So if you haven't read the series before, you can just get the trade paperbacks. We have it all available as digital. If you just are a digital reader, we have what's called a quick catch up too. If you just want like the last few issues just to try it out, we have the quick catch ups available. So you can just try it out. And then of course, all this stuff, well, not this is all on Kickstarter, but all our stuff is available on bigdoginc.com. So if you miss anything, or if you just want to get more trade paperbacks, just go to the website and you can grab more at your leisure. But this will be our last campaign of the year, and it'll lead us into 2025, which is our 15-year anniversary. Critter 25 will be the January campaign, and then we'll be following that up with Penny for Your Soul in March.
Nice.
All right, very cool. Very cool.
And then there's also just Big Dog Ink books in here too. So if you're buying Critter stuff and you're like, well, what else do you do? There's an assortment of other trade paperbacks and catch-up packs and stuff that you can add on. Goth Day and Penny for Your Soul and all this other stuff. We do have toys still available. So if you didn't get your Critter toys, we do have toys still available. You can grab those as well. And then there's the Big Dog Universe. Some of it is Critter expansion books, like the Iron Butterfly and Ukalik. Those are Critter expansion books from the Critterverse. And then there's just other stuff that we've done that you can get caught up on and give it a try.
Who makes your toys? Where do you get those?
A company called Executive Replicas. Same company that does all the stuff for Coffin Comics, Lady Death. Mm-hmm. They do all the stuff for Dynamite, like all the Vampirellas and all that kind of stuff. Cool. So they're based out of China, obviously. But yeah, they're the guys that have been doing it for a while in this market, in this type of 6-inch figure and highly articulated, and it's a full box and the whole thing. And they came out great. They were spectacular. So we're working on a second one. I don't know if we're going to do it next year necessarily. It'll depend on the design time that it takes to kind of get it all ready. But within the next couple of years, we'll have another toy ready to go for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fucking badass, man.
Yeah, it is very, very nice. Like I said, I refuse to show it on camera though.
Yeah, that's crazy. If you have that, you do need to be busting that out. That's a dope.
Believe it or not, it's on display upstairs in my house. It's just for me to move it. It's just like, why?
Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff on my walls, as you can see, so I know how that goes.
Yeah. So, Tom, this is issue 24. Yep. Does this complete an arc, or is this like a one-shot?
25 will complete the arc. That'll complete volume 6. and it will. So this particular volume will really tie up a lot of the loose ends, the threads that we've been writing into it for all this time. It'll really kind of explain the whole, what the Critterverse is, how it came about, how it works, because it does not work like typical multiverses. So I'm really excited to finally get to tell this story and kind of put a bookend on all of this stuff that we've been telling you about for 5 previous volumes, and get to sort of this next segment of telling the story going forward. So yeah.
All right, cool. So you got 13 days left to go. You're 8,800. You good?
Yeah, we're $164 away from stretch goal number 1. So if you all want to throw a little money at us tonight and get us there, that will be awesome.
Yep. All right, cool. Listen, are you in good shape? As always. Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, that's a professional ass campaign right there.
Tom is a damn professional. You know, we hate to admit it here, but you know, Tom is a pro.
hate to admit it.
You ought to see his convention booth.
Oh yeah. You know.
Now I do want to see it.
Yeah, he's not all about the cat ears. You know, but Tony, I know you said you had to leave a little early, so if you want, you just let everybody know where where they can find you and your work.
Well, I'm gonna say it, but I haven't got the call yet because the show that I'm supposed to be on, I just realized they are in Texas, so I think they meant 8:30 their time, so 9:30 here.
Oh, okay.
So I'll still plug myself just in case I have to go at a moment's notice. But yeah, on Twitter T/J, on Instagram @BananaBat. And yeah, it's Star Noir's up for a little over 2 weeks left. So yeah, grab a copy.
Yep, it's an awesome looking book, man. Beautiful. All right, let me. All right, Mr. Tim, what are we looking at?
Oh, hey, that's me, right? So at the current moment, I don't have a Kickstarter campaign, but most of you probably know me as being a comic book writing guy, and probably a few less of you as a musician. Since it came up, I'll just give a quick plug. I do write theme songs for Kickstarter videos, if you're so inclined. But I will say that this is one of the things I wanted to talk about earlier. You know, I started to what I call hit my head on what I was able to accomplish by strictly being a comic book writer who was going through crowdfunding. And I got a very small Antarctic Press deal. Tom knows about that, which is not the most lucrative deal, but hey, I got one. So I said, look, I've got to try and find some way to expand my writing portfolio and to attract readers, which, by the way, I love other creators. Man, I love you guys. If I could, I would give you all a big hug. I think your products look terrific. And man, I wish every success. The challenge that I was having, though, is that I was finding a situation where I was continuously advertising my wares to other creators who, as much as I love them, at the end of the day, they're not necessarily my customers. So what I've been trying to do is to expand into 2 realms, which is Substack, which, as you guys know, is a creative writing platform, which you can use to release writing samples. And in my case, it is a UFO column. There's short stories in there, and there's also the top 11 lists, which are moderately popular. And in something like a year, I've got 550 subscribers. So that's actually growing much faster than my Kickstarter stuff is. So the next thing, of course, is the podcasting world, which I'll throw the invite out. A couple of you guys know this. You've done it with me, right, George? Right, Tom? Right, JD?
Yes, sir.
So if you like this show, man, you're definitely invited to come on my podcast, which is The Creative Cranium. That's Friday nights at 10 p.m. And particularly if you were inclined to talk about UFOs or ghosts, because that is the new thing, is we're trying to reach out to customers more so than, look, I'm just going to say the words, okay, JD? The truth is that the comic making segment is potentially the lowest segment in the country. What I mean by the lowest, if you were trying to reach somebody by advertising to them, you'd want to say things like, hey, I want to advertise to people that like dogs. Okay, well, that's 270 million people. And then the second guy comes in and he says, well, I want to advertise to people that are making comic books. Your audience might be 50 people, right? So what I want to do is to reach out to people that like dogs. I'm joking to make my point, but the idea is that somebody who likes UFOs or ghosts or any kind of paranormal or oddball type stories is probably likely going to enjoy my work. So this is a little too early to tell, but we're getting ready to launch our next campaign. And in this case, I might even try Indiegogo, because that's one I haven't tried. And I want to try. I'm all about the new things. This is I've talked to you guys about, and I've tried most of the old ways and done just about everything wrong that you can do. But I got to try some new things. So this time you're going to see some aggressive advertising, and it's going to be geared in the form of a great big net that goes out to people that don't necessarily make or even read comics. It's going to be aimed at readers. And the idea is that somebody, particularly in the case of the Substack, you can see we got some stuff in there about, people that collect comics, people that collect DVDs. If any of that sounds like you, please give me a follow. You'll probably enjoy it. Timothy Fling over on Substack. Typically I release 2 a week. Sometimes it's 3 a week. And they're short reads. These aren't, you're not going to sit down and be reading for 15 minutes, one of my stories. The concept of Substack, in my case, is they tend to be 3 to 4 minutes. It's something you could read while you're waiting for a bus or while you're in the bathroom, whatever. And the idea is they're like little snippets to give you an idea of the kind of material that I'm writing. Because the truth is, I'm super interested in hearing you guys' opinions, but I've had some genuine challenges in the market, right? In the sense that I'm going to circle back to something that Jeff said earlier. I think it was Jeff that said it, and he was totally right. When you talk about the crowdfunding arena, man, there's all these customers, and it's a great thing, because what you can do is you can suddenly be able to reach more customers than ever. Well, that's terrific. And what that has done, it's thrown the gates open so that it's now very accessible for all people who want to make their products, which is great news. But the other side of that coin is now we go into a pond with 380 other creators, and it's really difficult to get noticed. So what we got to ask ourselves as writers is, what kind of writers do you like? What type of material do you enjoy? And that's the kind of thing that I'm doing right now. I'm kind of on this journey. Like, I consider myself a writer first. Well, I guess if you had to make the order, I'm a writer first, and then a comic maker second, and then a musician third. And, just between us girls, I haven't had a whole ton of financial success with writing songs, right? But it is one of the things that we do. It's one of the services that we offer over here. And again, all that stuff's posted on my YouTube channel if you want to hear the type of songwriting that we're doing. But
how much do you charge for like the trailer songs?
Generally speaking, if it's about 90 seconds to the long version would be 90 seconds is about $150. The long version is about 2.5 minutes. That's $400. And it's presented in a way that it can be broken up into segments. What I mean by that, like, for example, if you have a podcast or anything like that, right before you come on, you have like a little theme song that plays right before you go on camera. So I do songs, theme songs, video bumpers, all the kind of things to make a campaign look a little bit more professional. And when I say songwriting campaign, thank you for asking, by the way, it isn't something like you give me the money and then I say, here's your song. It is, hey, what kind of book is it? What do you want it to sound like? Do you have any influences that you want to have as an inspiration? Like, you might say, well, hey, listen, I'm just picking stuff out, right? Hey, I like Iron Maiden, but I want it to sound like it was being played on an alien planet. Okay, great. That's what we sit down and we start making. And we tend to focus on things that they're sort of orchestral. Like, if you like John Williams, we shoot for that sort of a sound. Well, I mean, like, bassoons and flutes and woodwinds, and then they devolve into a dual guitar Iron Maiden ending. So it's sort of a cross between a movie soundtrack and a metal soundtrack. And this is, generally you got about 2.5 minutes to put that in. And you see what they do there. One of the things I constantly am ranting about is the presence of physical media in our lives. I'm a big proponent of physical media. I can't stand streaming. Hey, man, I respect everybody's opinion, but I will tell you that the streaming experience is in every way inferior to every other experience. And I write a column to sort of show why that is. If you're a DVD guy, great. Hey, if you like vinyl albums, great. If you like listening to CDs, great. Man, you're going to be right in my wheelhouse. But man, I finally got so sick of the streaming services raising it. Now my streaming, up till then I changed it all, but it was the largest expense in the house. If you remember when they started, well, you could join Disney Plus at $6.99 a month. Then it was $8.99, and then it was $10.99, and then it was $12.99, and then it was $14.99. And I finally went, come on, man, I'm going back to DVDs. And, of course, with the DVDs, the idea is that you get the bonus scenes, the additional content, the interviews with the actor. And that's the kind of thing. And if you like these kind of things, you'd probably like my Substack. And there's also once a month, we do the Creative Cranium Substack. And those are tips that we've learned through the podcast, which generally what we do is almost the same format as JD. Basically, I stole his format. And we go on and I'll come up with a question and we go around the room and we try and get a consensus on one of the challenges that faces creators. And then I put it into a written format and I release it on Substack. But I guess in closing, I would just want to say you guys are definitely invited if you ever want to come on. And the new thing, man, is, we got the UFO documentary, we got the ghost sighting documentary, and they've got triple the views of the comic making documentaries. So, man, I'd love to have you. Just give me a shout and we'll come on. And of course, we promote your works too. It's it's not something where the deal is it's essentially just like every other show. But what I learned, and again, feel free to disagree with me, is that I was making a mistake, which was that I was advertising myself to other creators. And man, like I say, as much as I love you guys, at the end of the day, typically most creators, we support each other, right? But most of us don't read each other's material. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. So what I had to do was to reach outside the box. How am I going to get my followers? Like if you talk about, I'm going to pick on you for a second, Tom, okay? He won't mind. It's going to end up on a compliment. The thing about Tom is he reaches out to buyers and to readers. He doesn't waste a whole lot of time about what Tim Fling thinks or what JD thinks. He tries things with customers. And, I watched a couple of these things and I said, man, I got to try out some of these things to see what's going to work for me. And the things that have worked for me, they're not going to work for everybody. But the truth is we've all got to change what we're doing. And here's the reason why. Because artificial intelligence is now hanging over our heads like the proverbial sword of Damocles. This is no longer hypothetical. When we talk about AI, do you care if I do this, JD, a brief AI rant?
Go ahead. Go for it.
Okay. Because here's the thing. And I don't say, this is going to sound like I'm a kook, okay? But the truth is, AI is no longer hypothetical. If you go onto Facebook in one day and you start scrolling through your feed, you're going to see AI images. You might see 1 or 2 a day. And then that went to 3 or 4 a day. I've been counting them. Mine is now up to 12 to 15 a day. And you can always figure out how. Number one, they've got a couple of tells, the fingers, the things we all know. Number two, it's the ones that get all the likes and all the engagement. You put up the best comic book cover that we've spent months working on and is painfully colored and, it's so beautiful and lovely. You might get 60, 70, 80 hits on the damn post. You put up an AI image of Darth Vader playing a drum set, you're going to get 150,000 likes on that thing. So I've already stated quite clearly that I'm against AI. But guys, I'm an old man yelling at the sky. I realize that the torch is passing to the next generation, and I've got to figure out something to combat this, and fast. Now, in case this sounds like a doom and gloom, like, well, AI is going to take over all our jobs or whatever. Look, I'm telling you, this isn't going to happen for months. So we've got a lot of time to figure out what we're going to do next.
Well, here's the thing. I don't even think it's taking away. A lot of people are in this boat. Like, okay, we're going to get weird here for a second. A lot of people are in this boat where it's like, oh my God, it's going to take all our jobs away. I'm like, no. It's going to take some jobs away. It's going to take jobs away at higher levels, corporate levels, where people are like, hey, we're going to hire a bunch of people to do art for our video game or, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Those types of things are going to be the first things to drop out. Agreed. But in the comic book world, no one's losing their job for me because I'm not doing any AI. So all of the people that I work with right now still have jobs. I still reach out and I say, do you want to do a cover? Here's some money. Like, let's go. Let's do it. So in the comic book world, I think the losing jobs part is going to be far, far slower. Now, there's definitely going to people come in and just be like, I'm going to make AI books. But those guys weren't hiring artists anyway. So it's not like the job.
By the way, we're seeing them already. You've seen them out there.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So it's not like the job is lost. It's more like just sort of an opportunity is lost. Because if a new publisher comes in, like this dipshit football player guy who's trying to make an AI comic book publisher. Right. Opportunity is gone in that regard, right? So now there will still be people getting paid. They're just going to be prompters instead of artists. So it's a whole different world. But what Tim just said is we're all yelling at the sky, because the kids that are growing up with AI and iPads and all this kind of stuff, they don't give two shits about whether it was made by someone with a pencil or
they want to see Darth Vader playing the drums.
That's correct. That's correct. And so that is the ultimate problem. It's not that all of a sudden all these jobs are going to get washed out. It's that the audience doesn't care. And so the corporate level is going to start being like, why are we paying this guy $1,000 when we can pay the prompter $50 to do essentially the same job in the mind of the bottom line consumer?
Did you see, not to interrupt you, do you see Wizards of the Coast was in the, do you know who Wizards of the Coast is? They
sure. Yeah. The Magic the Gathering guys.
Did you see they were in the news? This is the second time for them. Busted. It was, what happened was, and by the way, viewers, I might have this a little wrong. If I got it wrong, jack me up in the comments. But the long and short of it is they were in negotiations with the artist about, he was very respectfully asking for a raise because some of this artwork's very detailed and has a lot of elements. And he was like, hey, I want to get X, Y, and Z. And it was a guy they had used before. I'm not going to name him right now. And anyway, what the company did was, hey, let's take a pause on this while we conclude our negotiations. And they had AI scrub his art, and then they released the card anyway without him.
Wow.
And I'd love to say that was the first time they did that. It's not. It's the second time. The second time they've been caught. So I guess my objection would be twofold. Number one, we've already found that customers, and it's like Tom said, it tends to be the younger generation that's growing up. They gravitate for whatever reason toward AI images.
Well, that's everything to them is digital anyway.
So it is correct. Good point. But the second part is the only thing that'll be required for this to succeed is the unethical use by profit mad corporations. And we're actually seeing this in some pretty scary numbers, right? You got Wizards of the Coast now caught twice. There was the thing with Hasbro. Do you guys follow the Hasbro scandal?
Yeah.
They fired their whole team and replaced them with AI. Yeah. So it's and this isn't my way of saying I'm in any way endorsing it. I'm one of the guys that's against it.
I just saw an AI ad as part of like Facebook ads. There was an ad for like Halloween costumes or something that came through. And part of it was moving. And I was like, what the hell is that? And I looked at it for a second and I was like, that's not real. That's an AI thing. And then it flipped to their models or whatever. But even they are using the sort of the gotcha moment of this AI stuff to attract attention, to get your eyeballs on, you know, whatever it is.
Well, hey, and you don't have to be a mathematical genius to look at the art projects side by side. And, you know, Tom, I follow most of the creators. So, you know, you can look at one guy's beautiful artwork that's got, you know, let's say 100 likes on it. And then you see these just vile and detestable images with 150,000 likes. And the comments are like, this is beautiful. This is so cool. I always wanted to see Darth Vader playing a harmonica. Yeah. And you want to grab him by the throat and be like, don't you realize what you're saying? But then I realized it's like we said, I'm yelling at the sky. What we have to figure out, and if I was going to ask the panel a question, JD, I would ask.
Hold on, because I want to show off some handmade artwork.
Go ahead.
All right. So, George, what are we looking at?
This is my website, Get Your Meds. It's a play on my last name. My last name is Medina. The meds are those books on the table. I want you to get hooked on those things, and those are your meds. So that is Get Your Meds. The website has all of my, you can get my books, you can get t-shirts, you can get all kinds of stuff. I have my book in there, The Adventures of Wonder Duck and Rust 5377, which you can pick up now. And I also have, you know, if I'm going to be doing any conventions or anything of that sort, an about section like any other normal website would have. But yeah, man, that's the short end of it. This is all my stuff here. So if you guys want to pick it up, check out getyourmeds.com and pick up all my books there.
All right, cool. Are you going to be doing any more crowdfunders anytime soon? Because I know you did one, and like, you know.
Yeah, I know. I did one 2 years ago. I think I'm going to do one next year for a new book that I have coming out soon. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do it again.
All right, cool.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
so this is his website. Go check it out. Go buy some books. So awesome books. I have all these.
Yes, you do. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And those are graphic novels. I don't do floppies. Those are all, that one's an 88-page book. The Rust one is 144 pages. So I've compiled everything. And the only time I do like single issues is when like I'm at a show and I print out the first issue just so they can check it out. So yeah, I stopped doing like floppies a while ago.
All right, cool. Very nice, very nice. Real quick, I want to show this off because, you know, this dude, you know, he can't bother to show up, but, you know, Sheila the Interceptor, JD is doing a toy, you know, so if anyone wants to go check it out because it's that awesome looking figure and, you know, it looks really, really good. So, I mean, go check it out. It's really cool. He's trying to raise a lot of money. Now, you know, he's struggling along, but, you know, still, though, he has enough time. It's 41 days. He might be able to still make it. So please go check this out. There's a really cool looking toy. You know, I mean, it's pretty awesome. You know, and Jay, despite what I say, is cool people sometimes. All right. So, hold on. I'm just going to show this off real quick. This is my next campaign. I'm probably not going to launch for another 2 or 3 weeks. This is in the When Tennis Souls Mourns, issues 1 through 4. It's on the pre-launch, so you can just sign up for it and then get notified when it comes out. That's, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks from now. So there you go. Now, George, Tim, I just want to go in order. All right, so just hold on. George, you got a question, or you want to let Tim go?
Yeah, well, I do have a question. Actually, Tim answered the question that I was gonna ask you guys, because we were talking about noise. We were talking about how there's a lot of people that are doing exactly what we're doing, right? So the question is, how do you stand out? What do you do to stand out in a sea of creators and independent artists like yourselves?
All right, cool. Let's Tom, what are your thoughts?
10-foot banners.
Yeah.
It's bigger than anybody else.
4 foot.
10-foot banners, my friend.
Well, you're about 7 feet, Tom. You're about 7 feet by yourself. So
close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Close. Yeah. I don't know that there is an answer to that, to be honest. Other than sort of just consistency, like we talked about earlier. Like you just keep going, and over time there becomes a revelation about people that are around you of like, how many of those Duck comics did he make? Like that's like a lot of work. Like, and it just sort of starts to naturally happen. Like I've had that happen with retailers, and I'm like, yeah, we've done like 30 issues of Critter, and they're like, what? Like no indie books do that many issues. And I'm like, well, I mean, what do you want me to tell you? Like, you know, we've been doing this. All you got to do is put it on your shelf. But the only thing that you can do, similar to what Timothy was talking about, where you have to put your stuff in front of the eyeballs of people in specific places. Like you can do it in the general sense, like, hey, I'm posting something on my feed, my friends will see it, whatever. But if you have something that is sci-fi, or if you have something that is dogs, or you have something that is sharks, you got to take it to the place where those people are. And that will at least put your toe in a pond that, you know, you might be able to get some bites from. So, you know, when you do stuff like superheroes or whatever, there's tons of superhero groups that you can drop stuff into. I know a guy who does a book about a fish from hell. So he drops it all into all these like fishing groups and stuff. And so I think that's really the key is kind of like what Tim was saying is you got to put yourself / your product in front of people who aren't just like comic book people. Right now, you want comic book people, but there are infinitely more people that don't know comics, but do have the interest in X, Y, and Z. And so if you can get your stuff in front of those abstract people, that's you might have a faster, quicker turnaround. I know a few people who did like, how do I describe this? They did like fantasy books or something, and they would take that book to Renaissance fairs versus taking it to Comic Cons.
It's
and
great
because
idea.
again, it's hyper focused, you know, genre to the people that are there. If you've got a horror book, you need to be going to horror cons instead of just like Comic Con, straight up horror cons, because again, those people may not know who you are, but they're there for that type of product. I'm doing a shark book right now. There's a Shark Con in Florida every year. You
Nice.
know I'm going to Shark Con and taking my book with me. So I think that's really the key is the outside the box thinking now. You got to get outside the comic book world and drop your stuff in front of the eyeballs of the general populace, if you can at all.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because I think that we forget how many people actually have read comics. Like, I've met people who I tell them I do comics, like, oh my God, I used to collect comics. And I'm like, really? You did? Like, you just don't know who at one point in their lives used to either collect or read or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, we forget that there are those people out there.
And then there's infinitely more that have never read a comic.
True.
And most of the time someone hasn't read a comic because they've never been introduced to it. They just haven't ever had one put in their hands. Friends don't do them. Their parents didn't do them. It's just not even in their sphere at all. But if you were to come into those people and be like, oh, you like sharks? I have this cool thing that I made. Like, check it out. You could blow their minds that something like that exists. Like, they probably understand that, like, Spider-Man is a comic book. I get it. But if you come in with, like, especially outside the box stuff that isn't just superheroes, you could blow their minds that stuff even exists as a product. And you could get the buyer, and you could then, again, like we talked about, you could open the door for that person to the entire genre and breadth of what comics are today.
All right, cool. Jeff, what are you thinking?
A few different things. I think first off, you got to look at what you're making in before you even get to like the scripting process and all that kind of stuff. You like got to look at, first of all, like what's popular in pop culture, stuff like that. What's going on, what's popping off, stuff like that. Maybe even just like around your audience, stuff like that. But also like what kind of comics aren't being made, what kind of comics have never been made, what kind of genres have never been mixed, stuff like that. So I feel like a lot of people just kind of be like, I like this thing, so I'm just going to basically do the exact same thing. And it's like, you know, maybe put a twist on it, and then you got something going for you, standing out in that way. You know what I mean? Because that's, I think, a big problem with a lot of people's Kickstarters, where it's like they'd made a great comic, you know, it's probably a great story and all these things, but there's no hook that's going to get them apart from other people. So it's like, what's your hook? You know what I mean? So it's like with mine, it's like, you know, I always pitched it as basically like drug dealing fantasy characters. Like, how many times you see that? I don't know. I don't think it's a very popular thing. So, and then it's like outside of that, it's like, you know, we have the fact that there's no human beings in my story. You know what I mean? That's another thing you don't see very often. Even in fantasy, it's always like, even that Dungeons and Dragons movie, it's all fucking humans. Like, get the fuck out of here. So anyway, I'm sick of these human bastards. So that's a big thing for me to stand out. Another thing at Comic Cons, and also when people read my comics, I think the thing that stands out is I show them the back of my issues, because they always end with the rest in peace page, which is something I don't think really any other comic has. So it's like I try to think of things that aren't being done. I just try to mix that in, you know? So, and as far as like what Tom says too, I'm all over anything I can be at. Like, you know, if I think someone's going to be into this, like a Sopranos forum, you know what I mean? Like, you like Sopranos, you're probably gonna like my shit, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So anywhere you can get in, fit in, that kind of stuff. Even being like in Yankees, like groups and stuff like that, be like, oh, you know, maybe give the Yankees some luck, back my Kickstarter, you motherfuckers. But yeah, there's just so many ways to like, you know, get buyers. And like Tom said, like they've never even read comics. Like there's so many guys that have backed my Kickstarter campaigns where it says first backed, you know? And like, to me, that feels pretty good. You know what I mean? It means I brought them there. Maybe now they'll back other people, stuff like that. But it just means, you know, they're going to start reading comics. And another thing is I used to write books like you guys. I used to write screenplays, all that stuff. But every friend I had that would support me, they'd buy it or whatever. And then they would just not read it. And I was like, how the fuck do I get these sons of bitches to read it? And I was like, pictures. They'll look at pictures, right? So here we are making comic books. So like, you know, just anything I can do to get people to read what I write. So it's not even just to read my comic books, you know? So that's why I make comic books, is to stand out. So like, yeah, that kind of thing. And you get people at conventions. Like I do a lot of like sports conventions, and I'll wear like, you know, Yankees stuff, or I'll wear my Liberty hat when they won the championship that night, like before the game, stuff like that. Like just to draw people to my table. And then I'm like, hey, you like comic books, motherfuckers? Or another thing is I have a Magic Powder variant cover. So one's like a Pulp Fiction cover. One's a Grand Theft Auto cover. And so like people walk by, they see that. They're like, oh, what the fuck? And then I'm like, yeah, you like Grand Theft Auto? You might like this. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. I sold that at my Pulp Fiction one at one of my conventions. And it was the first time I ever sold that at anything. So that felt badass. Another thing is at conventions, if it's not a sports convention, like say you're at an anime convention, or say you're at whatever convention, like wear shirts that no one else is going to wear, that kind of stand out. You know what I mean? Like there's always people like complimenting, hey, that's a nice shirt, shit like that. Anything you can do to make a motherfucker look at you is what you got to do, especially in live action convention selling at comics, you know? So I think that's another thing. So there's just a million ways I think about it. On Twitter, for instance, I go in search bars, right? And I just type in, I just backed. And I basically, during a campaign, I'll follow every motherfucker who's back to the Kickstarter campaign, hoping that at least one out of those 100 people will look at my page. And the very first thing you see on my page is my Kickstarter campaign. And a lot of times I get backers that way. And then, you know, they become, you know, followers for a long time and stuff like that. You know, you just never know. So it's like, when I have time, I'm always thinking, what can I do to get somebody? What, like, I have another idea. I wanted to get people to like do like kind of like a Magic Powder book club, like, you know, just read it, talk about it during the campaign. And maybe I could, you know, ask me questions and I could repost it, stuff like that, just to get people into it. But that's kind of harder now that Twitter's fucking dead. But yeah, that would have been nice a year or two ago. But yeah, so just stuff like that. I don't know. I'm always just trying to think of ways to get in people's minds. Because my buddy that does the art for the Elf with No Name, he has a Kickstarter right now called Osirian Tales. And am I thing beeping when I talk? It's like humming.
I think somebody's phone is ringing, I think.
No, okay. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so basically, like what I was gonna say is, so my boy Jeff, who does the Elf with No Name, he does the art for that. He has Osirian Tales right now. I think he doesn't even have 20 backers, and he's been going for like 2 weeks. And I think a big problem is I asked him before he even posted, I'm like, what's your pitch? And he's like, it's just like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign I did, and I turned it into a comic. And I'm like, that's a lot of people have already done that, bro. Like, you got to think of something else. And like, he's just like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, yeah, here we are, you know, 18 backers. So he's not doing horrible. He's gonna probably fund, but like, you got to think about this shit before you even make the comic. Never mind putting all this time and effort in and then get to the Kickstarter and be like, oh, like, come on, man, think about this shit. You're a fucking grown up. I don't know.
Everything you said is correct, Jeff.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, I mean, it's all stuff I've thought about and talked about with other people. And it's like, I don't want to tell anybody how to do their thing, but it's like, if you're fine with 18 backers, be fine with it. But I would not be fine with 18 backers.
All right, fair enough. Tony, what are your thoughts?
I just follow my, it sounds lame, but I just follow my own passions, like the stuff that I want to make. I have a wild hair about an idea. I just go make it. I try to make it as best as possible, as close to the vision that I was looking for. And then it turns out other people want to see a book like that. I don't worry about trends or competition or any of that crap. I really just like, I've got an idea for an alien and a human to be in 1940s. I want them to at least emulate as close to an Ed Brubaker comic as possible. And we go out and we make that book, and people are into it. So that's how I kind of treat all my projects, and they really stand out. When it comes to conventions, I found that a lot of people who go to conventions are introverted. So you need to kind of say, hey, come over to the table. Like they'll stop, they'll look at the alien with the fedora on the banner behind me, and it's like, well, clearly you want to talk about the book. So just kind of opening the dialogue for them and being very welcoming and opening up the conversation, that really helps, and getting them to actually pick up the book and start looking at it themselves.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Mr. Tim, what are your thoughts?
I forget what the question was, JD.
George.
I said, well, you answered it with your Substack when you were breaking down your Substack.
Oh, yeah,
How do you stand out?
Yeah.
How do you stand out?
I'll make my answer short because I was windy before, but I think my answer is probably closer to Jeff and closer to Tony in two senses. Number one, try something that nobody else is doing, because if everybody else is doing it, you probably aren't going to be successful. And the thing I liked about what Tony said is, I'm paraphrasing Tony, okay, but basically, fuck all those guys. I'm going to do what I want. You know, and it's like they say, if you're passionate about something, then people will sense that. And when I say people, I mean customers. Like, hey, this is what I believe in. Like, you know, in my books, there's no recognizable characters. There's no superheroes. Nobody's got any powers. It's like, what are you even doing making comics, right? But they're just these stories that I wanted to illustrate. So at the end of the day, I've got to find people that are drawn to stories. So, you know, hey, I love to have the most beautiful art in the world. And I think, especially in this group, man, I hope you can take this with sincerity. You guys all have some terrific projects in this group. They all look great. And I love great artwork. But to me, at the end of the day, the artwork isn't necessarily the product, right? It is the curious melding of the words and the pictures. It's a marriage of these two items. So if the story's not good, I don't think it's going to stand out, and I don't think it's going to last.
All right, fair enough. For myself, look, it's always the same thing for me. It's like, do the best work you can put out, and that's pretty much it, because I don't know a goddamn thing about marketing. So there you go. I'm the exact opposite of Jeff. I don't think about it. I don't worry about it. I'm like,
Bro, you know, you've done this so long. You know so much about marketing, whether or not you actually follow through with what you know. But you know it just from experiencing it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
That's the part. See, you know what it is? I started doing this when I was 18. So it's like none of this existed, right? So we had catalogs, and we had, you could buy an ad in a catalog. You could send stuff to Comic Buyer's Guide and put an ad in there. And that stuff was easy. It was like, you send out one of those once a month or whatever, you're done. It wasn't like this where it's like an everyday grind where it's just like, oh, post. Oh, did I hit Twitter? Shit, I don't know. Fuck.
That's so goddamn true. Because even if you're not running a campaign, like if you don't post something, then it supposedly fucks up you in the algorithm. So when you do run a campaign, they're not gonna see you fucking post anyway. It's like, oh my god, it is like a full-time motherfucking job. Like, you ain't lying.
Yeah, it's like post. So I'm at a point where I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do the book. Because I've limited amount of time. I want to spend time with my wife. I want to spend time writing the books. I have to go to work, unfortunately, unlike some people. Just walk around the lake, motherfucker.
Yeah, these 3 years making a comic. But yeah, I was gonna say, first of all, I quit my job yesterday, so I don't have to go to work anymore. But I will say this: these 3 years of making comic books have been like the least, like the most single years of my life. Let's put it that way. Like, I haven't really been dating or anything. It's like, bro, I'm just making comic books. I don't have time. Like I said, I gotta get people to read this shit. And if I start like hanging out with a girl and she don't even care about the comic, like, bitch, get the fuck out of here then. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm supposed to hang out with someone who don't even care about what I'm doing? Like, get the
See, Jeff, all you got to do is find that girl who's going to be the booth babe. That's
oh man, forget about it.
And then you're solid.
Yep.
And I try to, one day I will hopefully find that girl, but who knows? I don't even care, honestly. Like, it's one of those things. I'm more interested in making my comics than I am. And I already did, girl. I'm 40 years old, bro. I've been there, done that. So it's like, I'm not trying to get married or have kids. So, unless somebody really is into what I'm into, what's the point of hanging out with them? So
you need to find that chick that's gonna dress up as an elf and sell drugs. Well, at least your book.
Yeah, exactly. I just say, yeah, bro. It would be dope to have, like, because it does look well, like it does like help at conventions to have people like that and stuff. But yeah, like, all the years I've been doing conventions, I haven't had any hot girlfriends, so it is what it is. I gotta get back into that game, I guess.
Thanks for your comment, Michael. I appreciate that. That is one of my goals.
All right, George, answer your own question, bro.
No, I mean, you guys have had some great answers. I think the only thing I would add is, like, when it comes to social media, for example, like, I'm big. I mean, the one that I use the most is Instagram, right? And so what I've done on Instagram is I've tagged, they have the option to obviously tag people, but they also have the option to invite people to be a collaborator on certain things. So if you have, like, for example, if Tim and I were at a show together and we took a photo, I'm going to invite him as a collaborator. Maybe we're holding our books together or something. And then his people see my post, my people see his post, and maybe we can, something can happen. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying that you just reach a bigger audience in that sense. So things like that. I think at shows, for example, Tony's pointing to even Jeff's point, like, and to Tom, the 10-foot banners, you have to stand out, right? You have to find a way to stand out. What I've been doing is I have a spinning wheel. And people love spinning wheels at conventions. They fucking love spinning wheels. They'll come up to the table. Can I spin the wheel? I'm like, sure. And I got him at the table. I got him at the table. Now we're talking about what I'm doing. And now, this is cool, whatever. I have stickers that I may give away if they win it on the spin. You know what I mean? Like, little things like that. So it's funny, man. It's weird how people, like, they can be the most introverted person in the world. They look at a spinning wheel and they're like, can I spin it? And I'm like, yeah, you can spin it. Come on over. And they spin the wheel. You know what I mean? Like, it's the weirdest shit. But yeah, I think
it's not weird. It's something for nothing in their brain. If I spin it, I'll get something.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I was gonna say.
And I know somebody who does a wheel, and he says, yes, you can spin the wheel. All I need is your email for our mailing.
And we were doing that.
And he does that, and then they spin the wheel, and they can win a comic or a sticker, or a handshake.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. But
in their brain, they didn't give anything up. Oh, here's my email. That's fine.
Correct. And what I do too is I tell them, sometimes I'll do you mind if we take, if you take a picture holding whatever, and I'll email you the picture I just took so that you have it for yourself.
Now you have their email.
Now I have their email kind of thing. So, things like that, just to do at shows. But yeah.
Another thing I do at shows that I didn't mention earlier is, after Kickstarter campaigns, I usually had a stretch goal with stickers. So I have a bunch of extra stickers. So I give them out, man. Like when someone comes to my tail, I gotta have a free sticker. I'm like, I don't give a shit. And then it's like, but I do have bookmarks, like they're free with a purchase though, so I do that move. But I like this spin the wheel thing. So like, did you make your own wheel? Did you buy it off Amazon?
No, I bought it off Amazon. I bought it,
okay, cool.
and I have two. I have like a tall one that stands. That one actually makes noise. So you hear the click, 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 click.
Hey, I like that.
I'll spin it sometimes just on my own, just so that people hear the clicking. And then I have it like for smaller shows or whatever. I have like a small, like a tabletop one that they could the kids love to spin the little ones.
That's probably what I would have to get. And it's like, I think there's a King of the Hill episode. It's like a Thanksgiving episode where Peggy Hill basically creates a game that's just like spinning a wheel and choosing things, and it's just going back and forth. Like it's not like it's just genius. So I think you're on something for sure.
You know what's gonna happen? We're gonna walk through Artist Alley now, or through Indie Comic Press section.
It's just gonna be this madness.
It's all just wheels.
And we're gonna know who to blame.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's not standing out. Now we're just falling into the crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we gotta do something.
Now it's literal noise.
All right, Tom, you're up, sir. What's your question?
Oh, before
Tim had the question. Yeah, Tim.
All right.
Oh, before you guys move forward, I gotta jump off. But great to see all of you guys. Starting to watch.
Baby, let's go.
And
Right.
so I'll see you guys soon. Talk to you later.
All right, man. Tony, it was a pleasure. Take it easy. All right. Sorry about that, Tim. What's your question?
Sorry about that.
Hey, so I was about 60% of the way through my rant on AI, and I guess you could say I have a genuine concern about it. Okay, so, but I do consider myself a pretty technological fella, and I do think that I'm able to assess market trends fairly well. And I guess what I'm telling you is that I've been wrong about things a bunch of times. In fact, so many times that I can almost recognize when I'm about to be wrong about something. And then the new thing that
Can
I'm
you
about
stop yourself from being wrong?
well, in this case, I don't know. I'm going to let you guys be the judge, because the truth is, how do I want to say this? I've kind of been making a name for myself as they kind of being this anti-AI fella, as you may have perceived. And I'm not so sure that that's serving me, because I do follow social media and I do follow all the creators, and I try to keep my eye on the trends that I see in the marketplace. And I will tell you, the trend that I see is that the public seems to be warmly embracing AI. I'd even say maybe one step above warmly, but let's leave it right there for now. And step number two is the corporations seem to be waiting for that last domino to fall before they totally dive in. And my sense is the domino that needs to fall, or that is likely to fall, and this is headed toward a question, is this. They say that right now the first AI movies are in development, and it'll take exactly one being a success before it is a fully embraced thing by the public and the generation, right? So my question, right. And like, for example, the one that I was reading about today, and I often,
Clerks for Kevin Smith and like El Mariachi. That's how they'll look at it, these kids.
That's exactly right. You said it exactly right, man. And here's the thing. When they say things like, because one of the forms it could potentially take is, well, I want to see a movie like Star Wars, but instead of Darth Vader, at the end, I want it to be me, and I'm chopping off my ex-wife's head with a lightsaber. Stuff like that. You'll be able to put it into the movie, right? So I get why it'll be a success. But my question to you guys is this. In making our products, or even marketing, let's say, is there an ethical use of AI? And if there is an ethical use, what is it? JD, you first, buddy.
Now, when you say ethical use, do you mean in actual creation of a comic book? Or do you mean in marketing? Because there's plenty of people using AI for marketing. And I think that would probably be one area where anybody could use it.
Well, yeah, so there's a difference here. There's AI in general, and there's generative AI. Generative AI is what scrapes the internet and builds things from that kind of stuff.
I mean, look, I have no idea what's what when it comes down to that. But let's say if you're using ChatGPT, right, and you ask it to give you 10 prompts for Twitter, right, that you can use. You write out a couple of paragraphs for your book, and you just say, can you give me 10 prompts for Twitter? And then you dole those out as you need them. You go in, you obviously do your edits because you can't just put them up the way they come up because they're usually written moronically. But you go and you edit them, and then boom, boom, you put them out. You get 10 prompts. That's one way of using it that I think might be as ethically as we can use it. But as far as creation of a comic, being ethical about it, that's a weird conversation, right? Because you're gonna ask, all right, here's the thing. If Marvel was to get together with, or Marvel or DC or Disney specifically, or Universal, whoever owns DC at the moment,
Warner Brothers,
right? Whoever owns it, let's say they get together with, I don't know, Adobe. They're producing their own AI system, and they say, okay, we're gonna make comics, and we're gonna open up our entire library to you guys to use, right? All their stuff they own. Okay, so are they doing something wrong? Really? I mean, we could say ethically, it's not really right because we're gonna bring Jack Kirby back from wherever, or George Perez, or John Byrne, or Tim Sale, or God knows who else, right? Is that ethical? Because they own all the work as theirs. All these guys signed away their rights, right? We can all sit here and say, oh, ethically, no. But I guarantee you talk to a stock owner, they're going to be like, yo, go to town.
I would say out of all the kinds of AI there are, like if a company did do it the way you're talking about, where Warner Brothers literally just took art they owned, even if they did exploit their own artists to get it, that's probably the most ethical kind of generative AI that will be created. But so far, it's basically just all from everywhere and stolen from God knows where and everything else. Right. So I don't think that right now what's available could be really ethically used by us.
But what JD's talking about is available already. People are doing.
Like there's just a WB only one that they already have out for example,
there are when you go in and you do generative AI, you can actually feed it images.
Right.
You're right. So if you were like, hey, look, here's 1,000 J. Scott Campbell images, whatever, right. And you're like, use this and then make a thing. Right. It'll feed just off of that. It'll be like, okay, here's what you've given me. It's weird science, basically. It's like, I'm going to give you all this stuff and we're going to spit something out. So that's already a thing that exists. It already happens. It's being done. Now it would have to be done at a much larger scale to be what JD's talking about. But yeah, that's the easiest way for these guys to do it. If they're going to be like, okay, look, you don't want us to scrape things that we don't own. So if I'm DC, I don't own Star Wars. I'm not going to scrape Star Wars. I'm just going to feed everything that we own from DC into the computer and say, look, computer, use this only, this box. We own it. We're going to make new shit. Now there's still ethical problems with that.
I was gonna say they're still gonna get sued by all the people. Like, there's gonna be a lot of lawsuits after that.
Well, but here's the thing. I don't know that they can sue up because it's
like he said, if they sign away their rights, then
they own all of that artwork. So it's not like for example, like George Perez.
But that was pre-AI, so maybe there's like a
but everything is pre-everything. So you never know. I mean, not to say that no one will make lawsuits
without a doubt.
Of course. But sometimes the corporations won't give a shit because they have money. And
they already don't give a shit. They're
push these out the door. Yeah,
these fucking assholes. The Marvel guys already did AI.
So as long as George Perez is just DC George Perez, not Marvel George Perez, not cross-gen George Perez, they go, hey, look, we own all of this. Period. We're going to generate out of that. There's still ethical issues. Like I said, there's also just moral issues.
There's a lot of similarities.
You can't come back and say George Perez did this, right? Because he didn't,
obviously.
But it would still have the George Perez sort of flair to it. You know what I mean?
I would say even now you hear about it with just the movies themselves, right? Like say a character is in a movie and they do all the credits and stuff. You hear a lot of times like, where's the artist that helped create this? Or where's the artist that helped do that arc and stuff? Like they're already not getting, their credits and their money on shit that's not AI. So you're not wrong. Like the fucking AI is
that's what I'm saying. The corporate level of all of this is where it's all going to happen. And as we get down to the lower levels, you'll see indie guys using it. It's already happening. There's guys doing Kickstarter.
AI you have to admit it on your Kickstarter when you start one.
Correct. But they're making a lot of money. And if you have if the budget goes from 10,000 to 5,000 because you're not using any artists, and you make 50,000, off of this, then you're selling books to people that don't care what it is, and you've saved yourself $5,000 in the process. So,
Right.
it's a moral and ethical problem. I don't think that there is, even in the context of like what JD said, which is a great point because it's already happening. I don't even think that that's quote unquote right, but everybody has sort of an ethical and moral compass that they run by. Corporations have none of that, generally speaking. So again, I think from the corporate level, you're going to see all of this start to happen in bits and pieces as they can. But we've also seen a lot of kickback from this too. Like Marvel used AI for like their Secret Invasion credits or something.
That's what I remember.
And people were like, "What the fuck is that?" And so that came out.
I haven't watched any
DC
Marvel
got
since.
DC had artists that were doing AI covers. They pulled them all. So right now we're seeing a little pushback because the fans are coming at it as like, "What are you doing? Like, knock that off." But
wait, hold on. I'm going to call you out right there. Was that a case of the fans calling out, or was it artists calling it out?
Both.
I think it was fans of artists. Like once the artist
but,
said it, they caught on.
Right. Okay. Oftentimes the artists will see it first just because they're in the know. They're in the know. Yeah. They're behind the scenes and see it first.
Yeah,
but if let's say the artist had called it out and the fans were like, "Who cares? It's awesome." But that's not what happened. The fans were like, "Yo, that's not working. Like, don't give me that." But all the people that are like us, and we're the ones that say don't do that, we're going out the door.
Yeah,
and all the kids that are coming up they don't give a damn. They just don't care. And this is where we have a real serious issue, because the corporations, everything marketing and advertising and all that kind of stuff, we're not the demographic that they care about anymore. It's like 18 to 35, and that's it. That's all they care about because that's where theoretically money is. So again, you're going to have like corporations trying to aim it towards these people. And if they do, and they like it, like Tim said, that's it. The doors are open. Now, that doesn't mean they won't have lawsuits. That doesn't mean they won't have to defend themselves. Of course, certainly.
It just means game on.
Yeah. But once those things get settled, once the precedent is set in court, the doors for AI are still wide open. And we just have the rulings of like, okay, if you do this, you got to pay somebody something, whatever it is. But once the doors are open, it's done.
But
it's done.
Let me.
The thing that blows my bad, JD. I was gonna say the thing that
posit this real quick.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Imagine you have an artist who's worked in the industry for 20 years, penciler, ink, or whatever. Well, let's say a penciler who's worked in the industry for 20 years. Let's say he's famous. Let's pretend is George Perez. God rest his soul. Right. Let's pretend George Perez is still with us, and George Perez has done literally thousands upon thousands of pages. Right. I think he's not. I think it might be around 18,000 pages. It's crazy. I mean, you got to look up these numbers. They're nuts, right? So let's say if George had a complete library of all of his work, right? And he scanned it all into an AI system, and he wanted to make his own comic using his own artwork, and he did layouts only. He did rough layouts, and he had the AI skin it in his work. Now, at what level do we have to say he's wrong for doing that?
Well, I think the only trick there is just what is produced, because it may be his art, but he doesn't own Wonder Woman. So if he's spitting out Wonder Woman, then that's problematic. If he's just spitting out sort of carbon copies, tangential, parallel Wonder Woman.
Well, what I'm saying is like if he creates his own book,
right, his own
off of his art. I get what JD's saying.
But he's using it to skin, because what it is now you can ask the AI, it says skin it in Frank Frazetta, skin it in Boris Vallejo, skin it in blah blah blah. So he says he makes his own layout though. You understand? He's doing
use this layout and put the art in.
Well, I think it becomes that thing of like when Adobe was coming out and you were coloring digitally, right? Like I'm sure physical colors were like, what are we doing? Like, what are they doing to our job?
They still are.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, what exactly are we? But everybody colors digitally. Well, most people color digitally now, right? And now it's like it's the norm. It's like what you do. I was at C2E2 and I was sitting in on a panel about AI and copyright laws. You can't copyright AI. You can't. There's just no precedent yet.
You can, but it requires modification to whatever is spit out. It's sort of like parody almost. You have to have like 30% of whatever is modified.
Like certain parameters.
Yes.
So, but there was an artist in the audience who was pro AI. which was odd, right? And his reasoning is he was a graphic designer, and he's like, if I have a client who wants a logo that I designed in 20 colors, I don't have time to color all that in 20. I type into the AI, color this in whatever colors you want, and it shoots it out. And it just makes his job a lot easier. So he was like, for that, I'll use it. So again, we talk about—
But hold on, that guy just answered his own question though, because if he's going to use the AI to make the 20 colors of the logo, who's he making the logo for? The guy who is requesting the graphic design for the logo could be doing that himself. He could sign up to there's a couple of them now. It's $12.99 a month, and the thing can generate like 1,000 logos an hour.
Totally. But like to JD's point, we're talking about ethical, right? Is that artist doing something ethically wrong, or is he just being smart about working?
No, because he's not scraping the internet for color.
And I will say, though,
I was going to say there's one thing I don't understand. No, I was going to say there's one thing I don't understand about AI that I hear about sometimes that might come into this whole ethic thing. Is like, what's powering the AI, right? Like they say, like Google just like bought a bunch of nuclear reactors to power their AI and shit. So it's like, if that's fucking true, if that's what we need, so some motherfucker won't color 20 logos, then fuck that shit. Go get 20 motherfuckers to color your logo.
It's sort of like the NFT stuff, right? If you guys remember the NFT stuff, all of that had to run off of power grids and all that kind of shit. So AI is running off of servers and power grids and all that kind of stuff as well.
So that's the one thing I would say I'm worried about.
I'm here in York, Pennsylvania. I'm within the 30-mile blast radius of a place called 3 Mile Island. You guys might remember it. Several years back, they had a little nuclear incident, what we call an unrequested fission surplus.
And you got superpowers now, right?
No, I don't, but I am close enough that when you drive around the block, they have on the tops of phone poles and things, it's like a yellow horn that will alert you when the end of the world comes. But anywhere where I'm going with this is one of the ones that you just mentioned. It's been leased to Google for the purposes of artificial.
They just put it in the chat. Yeah. Wow. This shit's real, but that's what I'm saying. So as far as like, we get the art coming from the owners of the art and all this other stuff, we still got to worry about where it's even getting powered from. So, overall, I just haven't touched it at all. I haven't used no chat GPT. I write my own copy. I do all that own stuff. I see other people in like Discords being like, oh, I did this on AI and I did this. And it just makes me automatically not want to support them and stuff like that. So, whatever, that's your business. Do what you want to do. And, I'm an old man, like you said, so I don't really, again, I'm not going to be here, but 60 more years of my bullshit probably will be. So, whatever.
Well, and again, that comes back to what I said earlier in the show is that AI is going to happen.
Yeah, it's already happening.
You can fight all you want. It is going to happen. But at some point, handmade people did this versus a computer did this. That's going to have value.
Our comics will go up in value. You're right.
There will be an intrinsic value in somebody actually sat down and drew this. Somebody actually sat at a computer and wrote this versus a machine made this here.
So to that, I will say, that's awesome for us, right? And it's also awesome that I don't have any kids in future generations to worry about the earth to live on. So like, I'm fine with that. Yes. But people with children and shit, that's your business, Because it's not.
Hey, what's you guys' 2 cents on the? And this is a little bit tangential, if you don't mind going just a hair off topic.
Chernobyl. Yeah.
Do you guys know about the Peter Cushing Moff Tarkin thing in Rogue One, where they?
Yeah. It's like an AI actor.
Yeah, and now there's some controversial. This is going back into court because, and again, same thing in the comments, jack me up if I got it wrong, but it's something like if acting in a movie has a certain amount of, you're licensing your rights for them to use in marketing. And there's even some writing to the effect of, I'm going to get it a little wrong, but the gist of it is, hey, if you act in our movie, if you're Joe Smith in my new movie, we retain the use of your likeness and your voice in case we want to make any kind of promotional material, advertisements, blah, blah, blah. So people, oh, hey, sure, that's fine. It's probably going to be things like, hey, come see Joe Smith in the new movie, right? Well, yes, but it also means that if you pass away and they release a new movie, you could be the star of that movie, even though you've been dead for 40 fucking years. Excuse my language.
Yeah, but the Cushing thing is different because that wasn't the norm back in the day, right? When they made Star Wars
contract, that's what we were talking about earlier. Though, like,
I get your face, I get your voice, I get like blah blah. That's what's happening now, and in the last so many decades, of course. But for him, that was never a signed off thing. In fact, if you recall, there's no such thing as a Grand Moff Tarkin figure until decades later after that movie. because of rights and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's one of the things where Lucas was like, okay, I'm buying your rights forever. And that's when all that stuff started happening.
He's the kind of guy that's seen it ahead of time.
That's right.
I believe that.
So Cushing's family heirs or whatever, they were just like, what the fuck? Like, how are you allowed to do this? They took it to court. I think there was some sort of a cornball settlement. And I'm sure they're getting more than we're told, just to be like, look, just
go away. Here's
some money and we're going to use this forever.
Yeah.
But yes, that is a thing. And when we're talking about, like, for example, James Earl Jones just sold his voice.
I was going to say that's the one,
to Star Wars, so Darth Vader can live forever, right? And so that kind of stuff is happening now, but back in the day, that wasn't the norm. Kind of like, contracts with movie theaters with movie studios used to include like, hey, you're going to get money based off of the theater, you're going to get movie based off DV sales, but then once streaming happened, that was never in contract.
Everything,
and so people were like, well, I'm not getting any streaming money, and so contracts change again and again and again and again.
Right.
But yeah,
everything keeps changing, and it's like to the point where like the people producing shit are the ones losing time, not even just money. It's like you said with the productions and stuff, like now like TV shows have less episodes, movies come out less, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of less hours for people with jobs now, even in these creative fields. So it's like, it's, like you said, AI is coming. It's not going to get any fucking better. Just like everyone that worked at factories, like that's us now, I guess. Like you said, there's still people out there that are making, farm to table and stuff like that, and they make their money and stuff like that. But it's going to be a lot more of these, robot artists.
So the real question here is, regarding to AI is, are you afraid as a creator that you can't compete with AI?
Nope.
So in other words, if Tim makes an AI product and I make a regular product, am I concerned that I can't compete because he made an AI product?
Shit, I wasn't until now. Fuck.
That's straight up. Now, to me, it's like you said, I have a confidence in me that's like, I don't think anybody's putting out anything better than me.
There you go.
No matter what they got. So I'm not worried.
There you go. And I think that's going to be the value, like in marketing. Like if we're at a Comic-Con and all of us are there and we're like, hey, we made these books, we wrote them, we had these artists that made them. In fact, look, here's two of our artists are here. They can sign your books. And then Tim's up there with his AI book going, I made an AI book and no one can sign it. And there's no person attached to this. That I think is going to be the trip in the comic book world, at least. That's going to be the toe that gets.
But hold on,
stubbed.
you just answered the question though. It'll be the trip, but in the tiniest possible segment.
Of course, I agree. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
I'm already in I feel like we're, as Kickstarter creators, we're already in the motherfucking tiniest.
Yeah, good point. Good point, Jeff.
we're not fighting for network TV right here. So yeah, we're all right, man. I don't know. It's one of those things. Like I just feel bad for artists that are getting robbed and shit like that. And then, like I said, I don't know about the environmental effects of anything.
And think about Comic Cons, right? It's like, okay, here's a comic book that exists and it's super, super popular, but there's no creators attached to it, right? It's just some prompter guy in his mom's basement.
Some stockholders.
So that guy's not going to get a booth at a Comic Con. So we may actually start to see again sort of a resurgence of like, hey, there's real people at this con. There's real people making real things, and we then would have an advantage over the prompters.
I think you're right about everything except for the part about them not having booths, because I hear there's already conventions like having to tell AI people they can't have a booth with their fake.
100%. No, I'm not saying that they're not buying.
It's just that no one really cares what a prompter, like no one's gonna be like, all right, hey, prompter, sign this for me, like that kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, if people are, I was gonna say, if these kids respect this art and shit like that, they will want these fucking guys' signatures. They want goddamn Jake Paul's, Lunchables. Like, these kids are stupid. They want that shit. They'll be like, hey, can you prompt a signature on this for me? Like, these kids are fucking morons, obviously. So yeah, they're gonna want that.
I think we already kind of determined which side I'm on. It's pretty easy to see.
But I don't know if you can tell which side I'm on either.
Yeah, I think you and I are on the same side. But I will ask you this question. Are you ready? I think that we've done some of this to ourselves, and I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to go way outside the box here. You ever been to a comic convention
the government
and seen a guy with a booth and he's selling prints that are characters that he did not create? Have you ever seen such a 100 but the guy probably didn't have any business, right?
No, and they get more business. You're right. This is another thing. I remember Dragon Ball Abridged. Do y'all know what that is? So there's like this. It was a YouTube show basically where they took the art of like the show Dragon Ball Z and they basically like overdubbed it with like jokes and stuff like that. And they wanted to like make money off of it. And it's like, bro, it's not your fucking characters. Like you shouldn't be making any money off of this shit. And it's like people were trying to like stick up for them. So like, yeah, people that enjoy something, they don't give a fuck how ethical it is as long as they get more of it. So like, yeah, you're not wrong about AI. It's coming and all this other
I'm
shit,
not sure. By the way, I respect Tom's opinion a lot. And I often ask him this question, but I'm not sure that's 100% accurate exactly for the reason that, I've been to probably the last 5 or 6 cons that I've been at. There's been a guy or girl that has had a booth with images being sold that were clearly AI generated. And the first couple I went up and I kind of complained a little bit. Yeah. Thank you, Daphne. And where I'm going with this is I'm not sure
but real quick before you go on, were they generating Batman and Wonder Woman or were they generating their own shit?
They were in the last one. It was anime stuff.
Yeah, and then, but it's existing IP,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, that's a completely different thing, right? I'm not talking about people that are hacking that,
stealing others.
Yeah, I'm talking about, hey, I'm Joe Schmo Prompter, and I made up a new thing that's a new thing that you've never heard of, and you go to a con with that, you're going to get walked by just like all of us get walked by because they don't know what the hell it is. It's the IP that makes the fan art valuable. It's that I see Batman and you drew Batman and I want that Batman.
And now he can play drums and like
right.
Well,
so in that regard, yes, there's going to be that. But like we just talked about, there's cons saying we don't want that here, and so we have to just see how those doors get opened or don't.
But I would also say too, so our job is what you're saying is to basically make characters that people want to steal.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's fucking go.
Yeah,
let's do it. But yeah, that is really the
people
situation.
Want to make fan art of. Yes,
exactly, and that's 100%. When the motherfuckers send me a fan art of Magic Powder, that shit makes me so happy. And no one's ever sent me an AI generated one that I know about. And if someone did, I don't know how I would feel about it.
I realize the way I sound when I'm grousing about AI. Thanks, Daphne, for having my back here.
We're all in it.
Yeah, we're on the same page, kind of. But just a quick reminder. Actually, JD will remember this. I am a scrubbed guy. Do you remember I was in that group of I create comic books? It's one of the FB.
I'm in there on Facebook. Yeah.
And the fucking guy. Excuse my language, JD. I forget if
I've been cursing the whole time, so excuse my language, I guess.
Well, he puts up a hey, it's this concept of this new book I'm working on, right? And he puts the image up, and you can see there. First of all, his book was called Water Wars. And it was my character and it was my logo, but without the year on it. And I wrote to him and I was like, buddy, and like, it was like the same uniform. She's holding the thing the same way. And even like the background was even the same. And I went, hey, buddy, and I had, this is a published property. It's been published overseas. I got this publishing deal. This isn't and he says, oh, I'm sorry. I'm one of these AI prompt guys. It must have scrubbed you. And I was like, yeah, it must have, not to complain or anything, but
so he didn't even know what he was stealing.
Damn.
Allegedly.
And by the way,
allegedly, he didn't know what he was stealing.
And also the guy was, I hesitate to use the word cool, but once I was, I said something, he's like, oh, I'll take it down. And I was like, yeah, look, I don't mean to be a jerk here, but I've been working on this for years, Jesus. And here's a guy who had never wrote a book in his life, never drawn a cover in his life. And he might have put all of 5 minutes into designing the prompts or whatever. And then here it is. Look, here's my new book. And it looks exactly like my number 2.
That's fucked up.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why you sense I'm a little bit touchy. Yeah. And, I don't know the answer about fan art. Let's make that a question. JD, fan art, yes or no?
In Artist Alley or just in general?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if it's
somebody that's selling it for money.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Fan art. Can you sell other people's properties for money?
Right. Selling other people's property for money? No.
That's contraband as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. Stop
it's
fucking stealing people's shit.
The technical aspect of it is this: if someone's making a one-off, it's not really relevant. And in fact, the proof of that is that Marvel and DC and so on, they make sketch covers for the purpose of an original
people
art
doing their own fan art on it.
Yeah. But it's when you get into the scale of it, where you're selling the same image 1,000 times.
Yeah.
That's IP infringement, and 100%. That's illegal.
I've seen
like if an artist like paints like a one of a kind thing, even if it is fan art, they should be able to sell. I agree with that. It's the Prince and all this stuff.
I've seen DC literally go over to Adam Hughes and step on his dick and tell him no. Take all. As a matter of fact, I think they took all his shit. Or I think they told him he had to give it all away.
Wow.
I mean, and this was at a San Diego Comic-Con. He made a print of one of the covers he had done for them, and he was selling them for like, I think $50 each. And it was a limited edition of 1,000 or 500, I don't remember.
And they took them all.
And let me tell you, people like hotcakes. He was selling those things like hotcakes. If you ever seen a San Diego setup, he'd have like 6 tables with these prints. It was all covers and stuff. And this dude made money.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the side of Timothy and everybody else, or even Daphne. Like she's saying, like when I do a convention and I see somebody with a table of a bunch of shit they didn't make up, I'm just like, all right, you're lame. Yeah. That's what I think. I think
these are all covers he had done, but he was commissioned by DC to do.
No, this is different. Yeah, that's different. But even some of that, it's like, when you're selling your own shit, it's totally different. But I also consider, people who are doing superheroes from 50 years ago, they're just doing fan art now anyway, even if they are getting paid for it. So whatever, make up your own shit.
Yeah, this is true. Like I used to say, living off of dead man's dreams or dead man's
all
dreams.
The time. Yeah. Even these idiots, like anytime someone dies and their family gets a hold of it and then they start making more, it's like it's always just whatever, cash grab, whatever. That's fine. But I just.
Right. Gentlemen, we made it to hour 2. This was a lot of fun. See what happens when Jay's not around? We always have a good time.
I think I miss Jay. That honestly, I miss him.
Listen, that's one of it. No, I'm on
the show. Yeah,
he'll be back next weekend. He's gonna be fun. Tom, please, where can we find you in your work, sir?
Right there.
Big Dog.
Wherever you do your social media, look for Big Dog Inc. We do most of our stuff on Facebook. That's where kind of it all starts, and then it filters out from there. Critter's got basically 2 weeks left. Jump on and get ready for 2025, our 15-year anniversary.
Right,
yeah, that's so awesome, dude. Congratulations on 15 years, dude.
That's impressive.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Jeff, where can we find you in your work, sir?
GetMagicPowder.com. You can get all my comics. Jeff Schiller everywhere on social media. And that's really it. Pretty easy to find. I'm on here at least every 6 months or so. Whatever.
Very nice. Very nice. Tim, where can we find you in your work, sir?
The easiest way to find me is on Facebook. Yeah, I'm preaching to you all, right?
Facebook.
Yeah,
we don't have Facebook.
I'm Timothy B. Fling. I like to put the B in there so I'm not confused with the famous check kiter at the dollar store who, if you Google my name, he sometimes shows up as a guy who was stealing money from the dollar store. That one wasn't me.
It's hard enough to just be a famous enough guy with your own name, huh? Like that's where we're at. Like, I just want to be the most famous Jeff Schiller. Like that's
stealing dollars from the dollar store. That's a rough life.
Yeah, that's why I definitely did not want to be affiliated with this fella. But I will say that if you look at the 2 photos side by side, you can tell I'm not him. I'll leave that for another broadcast.
I'm looking that up.
Well, actually, since then, I've done enough of media blitzing that if you Google me, you'll get barraged by podcasts and Substacks and all this other nonsense. Right. So the easiest way to find me, I'm on Facebook. I'm earthdogstudios.com. I'm on YouTube. They have what they call a handle now. I'm at Timothy B. Fling. You guys are certainly welcome to come anytime. We got some great podcasts there. And finally, my Substack is where the juice is these days. And you can get an idea of what my writing samples are like. So I hope you'll go over there and check it out. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jason. George.
You can find me at getyourmeds.com. I'm also I stream on Tuesday nights with my buddy Sam Vera. We have a show called Catch the Craze. And I'll be streaming actually tomorrow night with Miss Lori Calcaterra, Path of the Pale Rider. We're going to deep dive into her story, the behind the scenes, how she came up with all that stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So we'll be streaming tomorrow at 8 p.m. And I'll also be doing a stream with A7 Imagination, Hades. We're going to be talking to him about his book called Dead of Night. So yeah, it's going to be a busy week for me this week.
All right, cool.
Hell yeah.
You can find me on theoswaldchronicles.com. This Tuesday, I'll be on with Rob Moltari on our other show, and Jeff will be there. We'll be talking about stuff and where we workshop different problems for different creators.
I got a big problem.
There you go. We all got that's a problem. But yeah, but yes, but we'll be talking about that. YazoChronicles.com. Hopefully in about 2, maybe 3 weeks back on Kickstarter, because the train never stops. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, next Sunday we'll be back here. Jay will be back hopefully. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, everybody. And just remember, everybody, all these creators are awesome. In the show notes, all their links are in there. Go check them out. Go click on those links. Go buy those books, man, because they are awesome, awesome books. So thank you so much. And just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night.
Peace.
Peace.